me the duck story.
Bum, 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 ba-dum, ba-dum. A duck walked up to a lemonade stand and he said to the man running the stand, "Hey, bum, 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 got any grapes?" The man said, "No, we just sell lemonade, but it's cold and it's fresh and it's all homemade. Can I get you a glass?" The duck said, "I'll pass." Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle, till the very next day, bum, 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 ba-dum. When the duck walked up to the lemonade stand and he said to the man running the stand, "Hey, bum, 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 got any grapes?" The man said, "No, like I said yesterday, we just sell lemonade, okay? Why not give it a try?" The duck said, "Goodbye." Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle. Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle. Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle, till the very next day, bum, 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 ba-dum. When the duck walked up to the lemonade stand and he said to the man running the stand, "Hey, bum, 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 got any grapes?" The man said, "Look, this is getting old. I mean, lemonade's all we've ever sold. Why not give it a go?" The duck said, "How about no?" Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle. Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle, waddle. Then he waddled away, waddle, waddle, till the very next day, bum, 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 ba-dum.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to HoopSpaces, Friday, December the 2nd. You are listening to the Duck Song by Forest Fire. I have to open up my day with some comedy because it's hard out here. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming on in, everybody. I'm glad that you made it. Any part of your day, part of our day, we're appreciative. Thank you very much. We are here with one game to talk about, but I think we also understand that thanks to one Mr. Kanye West, we have plenty of fodder we're going to have to get through. So let me go ahead and hit this button. All right. Good morning. Good morning, NBA fans, WNBA fans, men's and women's college basketball fans, and fans of basketball. Welcome to your Hoop Spaces, your daily NBA show here on Twitter Spaces. It is Friday, December 2nd, 2022. That is right, ladies and gentlemen. We are 22 days and a wake up away from Christmas. And if you have not gone Christmas shopping, don't worry, neither have I. The stuff ain't going anywhere. One game last night to talk about. We have the Detroit Pistons, the Dallas Mavericks. We have Chris Paul accusations being dropped by a guy who just got dropped once again by Twitter. We'll get your NCAA recap as well, the top 25 of both men's and women's. Do me the favor, up on top, you'll see a series of tweets. Like, go ahead and you guys know what I'm going to ask already. Like and retweet the show card. It's buried in there on purpose so that you would have to go through and see all these tweets. Some of them I think are hilarious, specifically Chris Paul, who took the biggest loss last night despite being on his day off. Kanye West in a bizarre appearance on Alex Jones's show, went off script and character and did a deep dive into a whole bunch of anti-Semitic statements and views. But he also ended with the shocker alleging Chris Paul. We'll get to that. Also, we do need to go ahead and extend an olive branch in peace to Mavs fans. They're really going through it. We'll get into that. Good morning, everybody. Thank you. We'll be back in 30. right. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Friday. Give yourself a round of applause because you made it to the weekend. One more week down in the year. We're coming up quickly on Christmas and on New Year's. So another round of holiday action in the NBA is getting ready to come up. And not just that, the trade rumors and trade mills are going to start spreading their wonderful ideas throughout different media sources getting ready to come up. As we know, teams have now figured out whom they are. So we get to look forward to that. And that is pretty much every team. One team, however, still has yet to figure out who they are. And we'll go ahead and get into that right now. Ladies and gentlemen, the Dallas Mavericks, they did it again. They did it again. They have disappointed their fans beyond belief, this time losing to the woeful Detroit Pistons, who were 5-18 and 3-7 at home. Ladies and gentlemen, Killian Hayes, the hero you didn't know you need in your life, 22 points, 8 assists, including icing the game with back-to-back threes in overtime. Whew, man, 10 for 13 from the floor, Killian Hayes. Bohan Bogdanovic, 28 points in less than 3 quarters of work, finished with 30. Marvin Bagley III, 19 points and 13 rebounds. I'm going to put up a lineup that Detroit ran out, man. This was a powerhouse lineup that had a 10-point lead against the Mavericks, and they held on and extended it. We'll get that up there as well. Of course, Luka Doncic played well, 35 and 10. Tim Hardaway Jr., another good shooting night, 26 points. And then you have Christian Wood off the bench with 25 and 8. All right, there you go. You hear the funeral music in the back because, ladies and gentlemen, last night was rough for those Dallas Mavericks. They somehow ended up having to play hero ball in the fourth quarter. Luka willed this team with the help of THJ into overtime, only to succumb to the Dallas Mavericks, killer Killian Hayes, who after post game, like after the game, like you could see that he was happy. All right, get those hands up as we go ahead and get ready to hear Micah talk about his Dallas Mavericks. Good morning, Micah. How you doing?
Man, Chris, I'm making it. I'm taking the good with the bad. Ended last night with a terrible game by Luca and a bunch of bums. But hey, I'm starting my morning with some Cardo y Carne. So hey, take the good with the bad, right? Man, let me play that funeral music for me, Chris. Look, man.
Well, it's in the background. You just can't hear it.
Yeah. So I listened to THJ's press conference, and I have to say this. I have never felt bad for THJ in a year until that press conference. You could just hear it in his voice that he wanted to just break down into tears. Had the best game that he's had in probably a year. 50% from the floor, 50% from the field. 50% from three, and putting up 26 points. You got three. Look, this is how you know it's bad. When you got hashtag MMRs saying this is bad, it's bad. Like when you got the Brad Townsends of the world pointing out that you had 3 players combined for almost 100 points and you still take the L. And not only that, you get busted up, you get packed up by 2 guys that have been in the vaunted 30-20-60 club this year. Like, we continue to make bums look like superstars. And I don't know where we go from here, Chris. Because nobody wants none of these bums. So how do we move off of them unless we just say hell with it and say, hey, who can we salary dump these guys to for a second round pick and just go into full tank mode? And because, hey, next pick is top 10 protected, just say hell with it and say this season is a wash. Because it's either that or live in purgatory for the rest of Luka's career or the rest of his contract, because he's not staying here for this. But I will say this, for a couple of Knicks fans that talked about him maybe going to New York, if you think Luka is leaving Mark Cuban, Rick Carlisle, and Jason Kidd for James Dolan and Tom Thibodeau, stop it. Just stop it. But
yeah, we'll get to that later. All right. It was a painful watch, ladies and gentlemen. Not gonna lie. I normally do not live tweet games. I normally just watch. But I couldn't help myself, and I'm telling you, it was so bad. We'll go to James next. James, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Morning, Chris, man. Listen here. Chris, now you said that Luka doesn't like double team. And if you know that, Jason Kidd should know that as well. So this loss came down to the coaching aspect of it, because if you know Luka doesn't like double team, why are you having Luka have the ball up top? Why are you not letting Luka staff on the baseline, come up and then come off a screen or something and get the ball? Why you haven't bring the ball across the court? That is so crazy. I don't have the Mavericks winning another game until they play the Rockets.
That's rough.
And I'll put money on that one. They're not going to win another game until they play the Rockets. Because I mean, this the way they're looking right now, the Mavericks are nothing but a bunch of bench players. So I mean, even down to Luka, they're all bench players. They all players
but like you're talking like 12 games, man.
Yep. Okay. So what? How many games you give them, Chris, out of the 12?
Oh, we'll get into that. I'll get into their future schedule. But let me get some other people up there.
Because the reason why I say is because the way they played last night, they it's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. And you know, it doesn't come down. Everything doesn't come down to coaching, but it comes down to coaching schemes, and the defense. And they just didn't have it last night. I can understand you get tired, you can lose 1 or 2 games, but my goodness.
we'll get into it. Let me get through the morning.
Go ahead.
We'll go to JFK next. JF, good morning.
Morning, Chris.
How you doing?
I'm all right, man. I'm actually here to go ahead and review the discography of Kanye West and focus in on the life of Pablo, because I think we saw everything foreshadowing in his song 30 Hours. If you haven't listened to it, the first verse or the first line says it all. So just want to go ahead and do a deep dive in that.
I never listened to that album. I stopped listening to Kanye pretty quickly. Like I don't do music like most people, so I don't form these connections, especially like the albums.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. What I will say is when that album did drop, I had this conversation and I said that is red flag number 1, and they were looking at me and they're like, why are you saying this is red flag number 1? And I said, one of the hallmark signs of serious mental illness is the God complex, the individualized God complex, and that. The way that I was reading the album, because I didn't listen to it, I read like what the album was about, because it was supposedly like partially controversial. They were comparing it to like a Madonna song and a couple other weirder, songs made by other famous people. And I'm like, that's a red flag, because he was saying what he believes, right? And I said this in a group chat, and we'll get into this obviously later, is although things might not be true, like factually true, he does not have the ability to filter his truth. So everything he's saying in his mind is true. And you have to be able to sort out what's like nonsensical, but he believes is true, versus what is actually true, because he's almost incapable of lying at this moment. Keep going.
So yeah, Chris, I just wanted to say that the song 30 Hours is basically a description of the time that it took Matt Barnes to travel from wherever he was at to go over to Derek Fisher and handle that business. So it's very interesting that
Wow, he made a song about that.
It's really interesting that he made a song about foreshadowing future events with another NBA point guard. So that was pretty funny. And then we also saw another foreshadowing when Drake came out and him and his friends all wore Chris Paul jerseys on Certified Lover Boy. So a lot of tall tale signs. Didn't even put it together until Kanye spoke his truth.
So, like I in another group chat, I don't gamble, but like I'm willing to bet $1 that there's definitely some type of correlation, because there's other things that come out in tertiary to life, things that we don't necessarily pay attention, just like JF just described. And there's a couple other things that also alluded to this as well. We can talk about that a little bit later. We'll go to Joe in Brooklyn, who's changed his handle to EMS. What's up, Joe?
What's up, Chris? I changed my handle to EMS because I like the Iron Eagle saying "Easy Money Sniper." He said EMS, so I took it. Listen, Micah, you are very entertaining, and saying I know you're a diehard Mavericks fan. So when it all goes bad, and saying you might start looking for another team, don't become a Brooklyn Net, because you sound like one of us already. Like, I heard you talking just now, and it sounded like most of the people that be in our spaces, saying like that. So I'm just saying, just saving you the trouble. Don't come to Brooklyn, all right? But yeah, the other thing is that I have not heard nothing about this Kanye thing, so I'm really waiting in anticipation till y'all explain what's going on.
Oh, yeah, well, sure. Well, we'll get there. We'll go to 6 and the 12. What up, 6? Riveting, as always, man. Hope you're doing good. You'll probably get to the mic in a moment. All right. Well, let's handle this game first, ladies and gentlemen, and then we'll get into the rumor du jour. If you look up top, I have the HoopSpaces review, and of course, I wrote our game breakdowns. But this is what really happened. This is the idea of, and JF said it, foreshadowing. Jason Kidd said specifically, and shout out to Jose, host of 77 Spaces down below, because he put this out there on a tweet, and if I can get him to find it. He said, we need to play defense. And like the very bare minimum of we need to play defense. Like, you're the head coach. Obviously, we need to play defense. Like, can you give us any hint on what you're going to do to play defense? And like, the look in his face was devoid of answer. And he said, like, he's going to toy with lineups. And, like, he's now done this multiple times after saying, well, I need X amount of games to figure out what our rotations will be. To the effect is, like, foreshadowing the collapse in overtime. Because you had to expend so much energy in the fourth quarter to come back. Like, the Dallas Mavericks locked up Detroit in the fourth quarter, holding them to 18. And then they scored 28 points in the fourth. But just as Jason Kidd foreshadowed that they needed to play defense, by the time the overtime period start, like, they were gassed. There was no energy left. Like, THJ probably had the most energy He opened up with the three, but like they couldn't do anything. And then like Detroit was just younger and more athletic. And then Killian Hayes became Devin Booker, or Steph. And he couldn't miss all of a sudden. He had a crossover to the left, Hezzy in the midi, and I was sitting here like, oh my gosh, I've never seen that from this young man. So it was bad. And the collapse of the defense was just astounding because you could see it happening. And like you were hoping that he could call a timeout and just get like two defensive players. I don't know, like Josh Green and Frank. Like they're younger, they're more athletic, they're longer. They like I don't understand. Help me figure this out, ladies and gentlemen, as we welcome 6 of the 12 back. 6, good morning. How you doing?
Chris, good morning. Not really too much to say other than the Mavs are cooked. It hurts me to say that only because I'm not a fan of the Mavs, but I'm a fan of Luka, a fan of his game, and it's kind of funny to hear Mavs fans talk about the team, about how excited they're looking forward to like middle of the year, end of the year, whenever they win, but whenever they lose, it's like everything's falling down. But they got to do something because Luka's in his prime right now. He's gonna have a nice prime, but at some point he's gonna get tired of just what we're seeing, because he feels it daily. Detroit winning is always good because that means that hopefully the Lakers lose a little bit more. So it'll spice up our pick a little bit better from the Lakers. But that's it, Chris. Thank you.
All right. So there you go. Like I just gave you, I gave you an abbreviated fourth quarter overtime recap. But I don't really want to go through the whole game because the whole game was pretty even until the third quarter, especially when Luka sat. Like Luka sat, and there was just this lull offensively that they could never recover from in that third quarter.
It looked like they was playing together, the Detroit Pistons. That's what it looked like. It looked bad.
I put up top the lineup that was out there, right? That the Detroit Pistons used. So Dwayne Casey put this lineup in here of Kevin Knox II, Sadiq Bey, Jalen Duren, Corey Joseph, and Alex Burks. He put that lineup together when the Pistons were up 10, and by the time that lineup stopped playing, the Pistons were up 11. What I don't understand is, conversely, if you looked at who Dallas had on the floor, like that should have been a wash. And they came back. They came back and they made a run within that time frame. It was like 2 minutes and 18 seconds. And then that lineup that stayed out there, it pushed it back. And I was just like, that's it. That's the game. And then I do want to give credit to a couple of players in the fourth quarter. THJ and Luka, like they really needed help. Because they were the only two who did anything in the fourth quarter, in my opinion. Like Spencer Dinwiddie was just ineffective. Reggie Bullock made a three, but like that was about it. They couldn't box out Kevin Knox. Like, I understand that. They couldn't box out Kevin Knox. It was bad. Micah, go ahead.
Man, I want to touch on this real quick because this is probably one of the most disheartening things of the game, and a lot of people were calling for Jaden Hardy, is realizing that if we would have been just 60% from the free throw line, we would have won this game. So wouldn't it have maybe, just maybe, been a good idea to put a guy out there for 5 to 10 minutes that's shooting freaking 90% from the line? I mean, really? Like, what are we doing here? Why do we want to keep... These dudes are not going to get better. They are past 30. They are who they are. There's no marginal increase. Play these young guys, man. Do something. Like, it's so old. And look, like I said, Mark, just go ahead and get those divorce papers ready. And at the same time, go ahead and get your Chapter 11 paperwork ready whenever crypto finally has its last collapse. So just because you're not going to have a top 3 player continue to put up with this. You can see his body language every time. Maxey, oh my God, and we extended this bum. I don't care what he's giving you on defense. He can't make a simple entry pass to a freaking cutter that's wide open. He's done this 3 times already. He misses a
Wait, are you
bunny
talking about the time where THJ, instead of being in the corner, cut to the basket?
Yeah.
Well, that I don't blame him for that. That is an offensive issue. I'm gonna mute your mic because there's some feedback. So Maxi Kleber had the ball, and THJ was wide open in the corner, but he also had a wide open lane to the hoop, and he decided to go ahead and shoot to the basket. And you're talking like not even a tenth of a second, right? And that 1/10 of a second, like Maxey had already decided and was in the motion to pass the ball to the corner because offensively, that's how it's set up. Maxey didn't really pay attention and see that he had an uncontested layup, right? So I can't really blame Maxey if he's actually following the motion of the offense because it was designed to get THJ that corner 3 shot. But generally, there's a roll big or a defending big help side who's going to come back to challenge any type of layup. But that guy shot out to the opposite corner, so Jay would have had an easy dunk or layup. So, like, does it look bad? Absolutely, it does, because it's a turnover. It looks like miscommunication, but it actually was what they were supposed to do. THJ going to the basket wasn't supposed to happen. So, like, had THJ stayed where he was, he probably still could have went to the basket, or he could have shot a 3. So you got to remember how the offense is designed, and it was designed to make that shot. Go ahead, Micah. All right, he might be caught up at work. Oh, there he is.
No. So, yeah, I understand that. It's just, yeah, like you're saying, it's the optics of it. You know what I mean? And it's just like your margin for error in these games is so small, and to look like you're playing playoff basketball against the Pistons is just not a good look. And hey, for 6-on-12, I'll tell you what, the Lakers are not as bad as we are. So we're going to get that pick, so don't worry.
All right, James, hop up here. You got your hands up.
Yeah, I was going to say on those plays, man. It as a coach, you got to go to scenario plays with the players. So whether he stay in the corner for the 3 or cut to the basket, it's still up to the person with the ball to read the defense. So on scenario, when you in practice and you go into scenario plays, as a player, you taught to look at those different scenarios so you'll know, hey, if that person in the corner supposed to be there, but he have a free lane to the basket and that's a sure 100% layup, you know he can cut to the basket, so that's where you want to go. So that's on the player with the ball.
Secondly, no, but what I'm saying is he had already, the decision was already made, right? So Maxey gets the ball and THJ's in the corner. Maxey had already, when in the process of getting the ball, already scanned and was moving the ball to THJ. That's how fast that decision was. So once that decision was made and he started the motion, if you look how he passed the ball, there wasn't going to be an ability for him to move his arm to get the ball to cut. At that very moment was when THJ shot to the basket.
Right. But
So, like, I can't blame Maxey if he gets it and is already in motion to make the correct pass to the corner. He's not good enough a facilitator to manipulate his motion into the correct pass. And that's why it looked really bad.
yeah, I see what you're saying. Which makes sense, but still, when you're in situations like that, I mean, you have to manipulate the defense for one, and he had a chance to manipulate the defense to make the correct pass if he didn't see ghosts like one and a half ago, which NFL player said he's seen ghosts when he's trying to make a pass or make a touchdown pass. But anyway, because the play is so bang bang, and that's why you go over those scenarios, and as a professional at that level, you go through those 1, 2, 3 real quick to say, hey, look, we need a 2 instead of 3. So you can take the 2 instead of the 3. But I see what you're saying, which makes sense. But both could be true as well. But anyway, the Mavericks, they just laid an egg last night, and no way it even should have been as close as it was. And let me say this: it's almost like these guys went in this man's house and stole his stuff. So after they get caught, the police say, "How come you all stole all this man's stuff out of his house?" And he had German shepherds in his house. The thieves say, "Well, the German shepherd laid there, his eyes covered up. Jason Kidd covered his eyes. Jason Kidd covered his
That
eyes."
is funny, but that is so accurate because when I saw the game last night, I was watching the game and the Bills game last night, and what I got from both games is that they was playing soft, like saying like with Brooklyn, saying we don't rebound good because we need a big man, but y'all had Powell and Wood in there, and they was playing soft, so I saw that during the game too.
All right, real quick. If you're on stage, do me the favor, like and retweet the show card and the newsletter. If you want to retweet the cat, or more importantly, how the Mavericks fans reacted, you can do that as well. I put that up there because I just needed some jokes this morning. It's been rough. I want to give a shout out to some people down below. We got some creators in here. Malika Walker, host of the Rewind Pod. And she's also finishing up writing a piece on Bernard King that'll be featured in the newsletter. We've got, Justin Patton, the YouTube coordinator down there. We have Jose holding it down solo style yesterday. I couldn't get on stage. My man Jose for 77 Spaces. And look, I'm going to give him real big flowers here. It is hard to change your daily routine to accommodate something that you've created and sense of a community. And he was able to do that. He was able to do it honestly. He was able to be himself. He didn't feel pressured to be something he wasn't. And that's exactly what we strive to do here every day, is be our authentic selves and express our love and passion for our sport and our team. So shout out to Jose. And I urge you to shoot him a follow so that when 77 Spaces goes live next time, you can actually go experience it. I'm not asking you to show up all the time. You're not a Mavs fan. But trust me, you'll go in and you'll have a good time. You'll leave out feeling better, and you'll be a better fan because you'll know more about the game. Shout out my man Warren from Day One. I see the pickup card game is in the building. Shout out to the pickup card game. And I'll even use this time now. Hey, it's more stuff is coming. All right. So you want to go to Slam Goods now to pick up the remaining first editions of the pickup card game while you still can. You could use the promo code HoopSpaces, and instead of going and buying the Funko Pop doll, go pick up the pickup game. Because not only will you enjoy it and have fun, especially if you have kids, you can actually watch the game and play pickup while the game is on, and you can actually introduce basketball to your kids in a way that is fun as well. And you can save 15% over at slamgoods.com. If you want to come on up, go ahead, raise your hand. We got some space here for you to come up on stage. We do ask, though, that you like the show card and the review. I'll actually remove the the cat real quick, and then the crying Mavs fan to make it easier. All right, we'll go to Micah to answer or to add in his point after James was done. We'll bring James back in here. We'll say good morning to Andrea and Akil. Go ahead, Micah. What you got?
Oh man, I had to open my phone, Chris. I'm going for the record today. But anyways, man, I remember you was talking about Jakob Pertl probably wouldn't get 2 first rounders. I'm telling you right now, I give them 2 first rounders if they take back one of these bums. Like real talk.
Well, the reason why I don't think he's going to end up going for twos, I think there's going to be a market correction in trade capital, right? Like Oklahoma City's hoarded picks. Now you have Utah, who's actually built the stockpile. New York actually has some. Brooklyn has some. And like when you look across the landscape, there are a lot of teams who are going to be struggling to basically get young, cheap talent because that's what these draft picks are. And the draft picks are going to actually start becoming a premium. So then you get this Rudy Gobert trade, and Minnesota is starting to hop on this. We're going to accumulate. You get the Rudy Gobert trade that gives the Jazz 4 picks, and now like Minnesota's in a position where they're trying to now get draft capital because they lost Cat, and like they're starting to put out feelers for Jalen Noel, Kyle Anderson, and like they're trying to figure out what they can do to shore up their team now versus building maybe a first round in the future. It's going to get to the point where there's just not enough available to trade. And if you don't have enough available to trade, then each singular pick gains more value. Ergo, total and players' values will depreciate because there's only maybe 11 picks available to trade, right? So they just become that much more valuable. That's why I don't think in the end he's 2 picks. I think he's 1 pick with low or minimal protections and a young player. Unfortunately for the Dallas Mavericks, the Spurs already have a boatload of young guards, so I don't think they take Jaden Hardy in a pick. All right, we'll say good morning to Andrea next. Andrea, good morning. How you doing?
3.
My bad. I was trying to post I was trying to post for you. But I had a question for the floor. But good morning, everybody. Good to be here. Chris, thank you for inviting me on stage. Most
Good
definitely
morning.
I enjoy the morning show. Um, does anybody really think the ball staying in Luka's hand is going to equate to a championship? This long, staying in the ball staying in his hand this much. Do you actually think this is going to lead to a
Well,
championship?
Did it work for
No.
James Harden? The
all right, so I'm gonna go ahead and mute because that's not a fair question. Because it would work if he had players around him that play differently than the players he has around him currently. Like that's one of those questions that no matter the answer you give, you are wrong. Because like you can't quantify that without quantifying. Well, maybe he does this, but he has Bam Adebayo, and then he has player X and player Y. Then you'll say, oh, absolutely, he would win a championship. But then people would conversely say, but he's got better talent around him. But he'd still be playing the same.
My pushback is he's not playing the same if he had better players around him. But I mean,
No, he is. Like he
not.
definitely is.
He's
In this
not.
league, yes. And
He's
Eurobasket,
not.
no. Well, he is. Look at what he did in the All-Star game.
The All-Star game, that's what we're equating this to?
No, I'm saying if you put better talent on him, his
Goose
play style
eggs.
in this league isn't going to change.
No, but it's not like he's getting goose eggs. Like everybody is like around 9 points.
I mean, we could agree to disagree, but
There's no agree to disagree. We disagree. You're just wrong. Keep going.
I mean, it's all right. Everybody's wrong here once in a while,
Yeah.
for sure.
I don't even know. I apologize. I think we're all speaking at one time. You said I was wrong?
No, I was telling the kid.
Nah.
Yeah, I think Akil, I don't know because I didn't hear you, probably because I was accidentally speaking over you. I think that in order for Dallas to succeed moving forward, Luka's going to have to learn how to share. We learned this in preschool. I don't think that this is the equation to winning games. Even when you had a sharpshooter in Seth Curry, you found a way to lose. I think that the ball doesn't move enough as it should. And then you have, very streaky shooters around you. Bullock, Tim Hardaway Jr. You got to make sure they're warm and they definitely are getting touches, to be honest with you. Christian Wood is always going to, definitely contribute. I think that was one of the best pickups that they did. But at this point, like for me, Luka's always going to be great. But unless he learns how to share his toys, he's going to be in the corner by himself.
Well, I think he is sharing his toys. I just think that the people who he's sharing with are breaking said toys. Like that's my problem is if he were getting 35 and 5 assists, I would be more towards what you are saying. But the volume of assists he's getting is still round double digits. So he's actively looking within the framework of this offense to these players. Just that these players, like you said, are just inconsistent shooters, or we can say talent-wise, don't scale up to even maybe the scale of talent that's around LeBron James, right? Because at least LeBron James has Anthony Davis.
But the numbers, they if you watch the games, the time when Luka is passing is to bail himself out. Like, I don't think it's just black and white, to be honest with you. Moving the ball more. Go ahead.
I think you're right. I think you're right that there are times, and there's more times than the average dominant ball handler, but like there's also times where he gets into the half court and he's charging, and 3 seconds later he's passing early on for an assist because he's already made up, his mind based on where the defensive positioning is. I think you're right, especially when he's over dribbling the ball like James Harden. Though, like I can't stand that either. But I think again, that's actually more on Kid, and then that's more not Luka wanting to do it, but feeling he has to do it because at some point he's got Josh Green on one wing and Reggie Bullock on the other, and the white pal trying to set him a pick. Like, what would you do if you were in Luka's position?
Move the ball more. It doesn't matter to me, honestly. Like when you have Austin Reeves, Dennis Schroeder, Kendrick Nunn that get an abundance of minutes, the ball still moves. The ball still finds its way into the hoop, to be honest with you. But that's just me. I'll go on ahead and let somebody else speak.
Yeah. Well, I agree. I honestly think the offense under Rick Carlisle fostered better ball movement. We'll go to Akil. We got Micah. We'll go to EK after that. Akil, go ahead.
All right, man. Look, I've taken a lot of flack for being on my Killian Hayes train. I have never left my young prince once. A lot of people said he wasn't in the league. A lot of people said he shouldn't be in the league. A lot of people said he was a scrub. A lot of people said he shouldn't have been drafted. All of this, yada, 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 sent everybody packing last night. Packing. He hit like 4 consecutive jumpers. He had like 8 unanswered points. Bojan Bogdanovic was on a heater out of himself too. Jalen Duren is the truth. Isaiah Stewart, like, I love my basketball team so much. Boy, do we stink, but are we fun to watch while stinking? Absolutely. Shout out Wemby, come home. Man, it's good stuff. It is very, very, very good stuff to watch. But I do agree to some of what she was saying before me. Like, when I think about it in essence, especially when you get to the playoffs, I think there is a sense of like predictability with what comes with what the Mavs do offensively. It's like, I've related it before. It's like a pitcher that has only one pitch in their toolbox. It's like, okay, the fastball is really cool the first time, but if you see the fastball another 20 times after it, cool. Like, you know what's kind of in front of you. Like, you can adjust to it. I mean, you saw the same shit with the Rockets, like in years of the past with James Harden. Like, there was an easy level of predictability to it. And one thing that it does do, it causes people on your team to be streaky, right? Like you don't know when your shots are coming, you don't know when you get touches. People like to bring up that Trevor Ariza went 0 for 12. Yeah, sure, but like the only times he probably touched the ball were like those 0 for 12 possessions as well. So like that's a huge thing that people don't really want to bring into the equation as well. But on the flip side, everybody else on the Mavs roster stinks too. Like I mean, I get it. Like if you're just trying to survive and win basketball games, I'm not gonna sacrifice a Luka touch for fucking Josh Green isos or like a Dwight Powell post up. Like there is two sides of the coins. Um, but also I think my thing is just like he would be. I think there is ways to like get him off the ball and use him in more creative roles. Like I think something that would be really really interesting. Like if there was actually like a ball handler good enough, using him as a screener. Like I think that could be something, and getting him in short roll and stuff like that. I think that is something that didn't get tapped into much, but like that is something I think he absolutely could do. And I mean, like you see him play off ball too in Eurobasket, like with Goran and all those dudes. Like that is there. Part of it is like he's never had the opportunity to be able to do that in Dallas, and that's also goes on the Mavs front office, right? Like they triple down on this roster, right? Like Dorian
They sure
Finney-Smith is
did.
still gonna be there, and everybody's still gonna be there because they re-signed them and gave everybody money.
Let me ask
So
you a
like,
question, Nikhil.
what's up?
So like I wanna go into this Eurobasket thing. So like one of the things that I don't mind assigning accountability to players, right? But when I look at Luka, I find it very hard to put an undue amount of blame on him for three reasons, right? First, the margins the Mavericks have, and shout out to Jose because he's been saying this now for a few weeks now. The margins the Mavericks have this season to win are narrower than last year. Byproduct of what you just said, tripling down on the roster construction. Two, there's an issue with coaching. There's some form of deficiency that we've all seen, and that Luka covers up for with Jason Kidd. And we saw this with Jason Kidd in Milwaukee too. We didn't see this anywhere else other than with a prodigious star in Giannis and a prodigious star in Luka. And I say that because it's very difficult to coach a player that great. And three, the type of offense that's played in Eurobasket is not the type of offense that is regularly played nor adopted in the NBA, right? Which is why I say, like, it's cool. He does it in Eurobasket. He won't do it in this league because this league doesn't play that offensive style. Do I wish they would sometimes? Yes, but it's kind of hard to imagine let's say Goran Dragic, Luka Doncic, and give me a third ball handling guard who's small on a regular starting basis in the NBA. So like when we're looking at the Mavs and you agree the pieces just aren't, up to a top tier level, what more would you want to see done? Like not necessarily from Luka, but just from the team aspect. Is this something where they should just say, hey, what we did last year worked and we're trying it, but it's not. So perhaps we should try to bring in something else. What is X?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting line, right? Like, I'd like to see them maybe try to put more accountability on other players a little bit more in the regular season, just to simply see like what they have in the tank with them. Like in the regular season, I'd be cool with them maybe not necessarily even like losing a game, or like say, hey, Luca, we're not going to give you these 15 possessions in this one game because like let's see what Josh Green has. Maybe there is some on ball juice with him. Like I think that's something that you could do, like and try in spots. But then again, it's like, I mean, I get it. Um, I think Spencer Dinwiddie's also just not that guy. Like they're trying to make him be Jalen Brunson, and he's
And he
clearly not.
can't.
And he's
Akil, can I ask you a question?
what's
Because
up?
everything you were saying sounded very great, right? You must be a Pistons fan, right?
Oh, Die Hard, yeah.
Okay, so my question to you is the same point that I gave regarding Luka sharing the ball more, and you might get, instead of these 10 or 7 assists, it may turn into something like 15. When the ball moves, like nobody can sit here and clown Bullock and clown Tim Hardaway Jr. when you have Bagley, Stewart, Bogdanovich, and Hayes sharing the ball, and it leads to a W over this said
Bro,
Dallas
they're
team.
they're just better players. They're just better players, and you don't
And I
understand that
don't,
the game elevates because you have one amazing player.
but I
You
don't
have to understand.
necessarily.
I
But
would
let me just
rather
finish
have
this
Let
point.
let let it let
Bogdanovich
it
than
let
Let me
her
just
let
Reggie
her
finish this
finish
point
Bullock.
up.
real quick.
Let her finish up, and I'll let you
I
go,
don't think
Dorcia.
it necessarily depends on how great one said player is in the game of basketball. It's a team sport. A lot of times, if you know your role, and you share, they can't move as fast as the ball moves. We learned this in basketball 101. If you share, you'll create easy offense for yourself. When the ball gets stuck, you give the defense time to set up, right? Everything becomes predictable because we've seen this before with Luka. We keep naming these
The,
players that aren't as quote like trustworthy because they're not superstars or what have you like that. But I mean, they all can make a
it,
layup.
it,
Hello,
the,
this is at least the NBA, bro. I think
but
two
there's a
things can be
problem with
true.
there's a problem though, right? Like if they make 4 more shots, then he has 14 assists. And like the killer part is that they shot above 50%. So like we can't even say technically that their offense wasn't working because it was working. They shot above 50%. They shot above 40% from 3. They lost because of free throws and turnovers and bad defense more so than Luka. And I don't think like it's fair to say that he's not sharing the ball because he's sharing the ball. Like
I didn't
every
say he
game I've
doesn't
seen,
share at all, though, Chris.
well, I know, but like he's sharing greater than Steph Curry is sharing. He's sharing greater than Jimmy Butler is sharing. He's sharing greater than every player in the league except for Tyrese Halliburton. Like that's
Those
the
other teams
problem.
also have more than one option, dude. Like, we're not going to bring the Warriors in this because that's apples to oranges, right?
Well, but the
Okay.
issue isn't that. The issue is sharing. Because like he's sharing. That's the
And I don't,
like.
and I think he could share
The
more. Is
players
all
are
I'm saying.
ass. The players
Okay.
are ass. Bro, they are ass. Watch the games. Watch
Like,
every
what
single
are
game.
what are we
The
doing
players
here?
suck. They're not
What
good.
All
Bro,
right. Let's
listen.
let
If they
Dorcia
shoot
go.
above
Oh, Jazz is
40%,
Dorcia
here.
if
Oh,
they
man.
shoot
and
if they shoot above 40%, right? If Reggie shoots above 40%, Luka's averaging 13 fucking assists a game. Bro, the
all right,
players aren't
Dorcia,
good.
do
They
me a
can't
favor.
dribble. They
Do
have no
do me a
bag.
favor. Keep it PG though with the language.
All right, fine. Bro, listen. People keep talking about sharing the ball, sharing the ball. You weren't saying that about Jaden Ivey when he's fucking cooking dudes going one-on-one and giving him buckets, right? We have no paint presence. We can't rebound the fucking ball. There's way more
All right,
problems than
I can only let the so many like I don't want to go back and edit the show after I record it. Do me the favor, man. Just chill with the F bombs. Like it's not hard.
No, I didn't say that word right there. I don't know if it
You,
sounded
you
like I did,
said
but I
it
didn't.
3 times in less than like 30 seconds.
Brother, he said keep it
Okay,
PG,
listen.
and you went on a
Listen.
tangent.
You did say it
Listen,
like
you
4
can't
times.
listen. Stop. Listen. People who keep on saying this narrative don't watch every game. It's that simple, bro. If you think that Luka's not sharing the ball, it's because you don't watch every Mavs game. I've watched every single quarter of the Mavs games, bro. This team is so sorry. They're so mid. Okay? Most of the starters on this team would not start on any other team, bro. If you replaced certain players with other players, this team would become 100 times better, obviously, right? But you cannot sit here and tell me THJ, Reggie Bullock, even Dorian. Dorian might be the only guy in the starting 5, other than Luka, that will start on a different team. Maybe. You think Powell's starting on any other team in the NBA? Like, dude, people need to wake up and realize it's a mid roster, okay? It's sorry, and you can compare it to the Cleveland Cavaliers. It's the same thing when LeBron had Mo Williams. Nobody on this team has a bag.
All right, let me get Jazz in here, one of the co-hosts of 77 Spaces. Jazz, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning, Chris. It's been a long time. I'm doing good. I hope you're doing well this morning as well.
I tell you, I want to say thank you to every Mavs fan and everybody because, like, I was worried, Jazz, that we were going to be up here talking Chris Paul, but I'm happy to have this Mavs discourse today. You've been
Happy to hand you
critical.
an L last night, Jazz.
You've been critical of Dallas, and I've appreciated your criticalness. Right, like the critiques you give are rather blunt. They're upfront, and they're pretty much you can't object to them. Last night, I want to know first, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but I wanted to know what your reaction was going into overtime.
So my immediate reaction was, okay, we've lost this game. And then my secondary reaction is, when does incompetence become too much? I hear these takes about Luka needing to share the ball. If you've watched a single Mavericks basketball game, Luka is the offense initiator. Just look at the game against the Warriors. When Spencer Dinwiddie was ejected and Josh Green had to bring the ball up the court, he could not even do that. And Josh Green is rocking it out this season. So I do not want to hear the criticisms that Luka needs to get his teammates more involved when these guys, like, who was it that said it, Dorsey? They don't have a single bag. You saw the last play in overtime last night when Maxi Kleba blew a wide open layup. We all watched that. I don't want to hear about Luka having to get his teammates involved when they are trash and they're not trying to get involved. When you get a pass from Luka and your first thought is to just swing it to the next person, you're not like, no, I don't want to hear it. This is a team full of Luka with Spencer and a bunch of swingmen, period. That's all they know how to do. And it's like, I don't really understand. And this is how I know that people don't watch the Dallas Mavericks, because if you think that Luka is the problem on this team, you don't know ball. You're just pushing narratives. You're just pushing agendas because you may not like Luka. That's all well and good. And you know what? I'm going to reserve some criticism for Luka as well, because we all know how, as Luka goes, the team goes. If he goes into a game with low energy, the entire roster goes into the game with low energy and low effort. I can say that Luka is not a leader. That is what I'll say. That's going to be my bold take of the day. Luka is not a leader. And at what point does the head coach step in and say, you know what? Luka is lacking in this area. I can step in. When I saw a timeout huddle last night and Sean Sweeney, the defensive coach, is giving them plays and telling their assignments, and Jason Kidd is just sitting to the side watching, that's incompetence. That is incompetence. When you have the owner of a team telling you, your second best player, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure he doesn't walk out of Dallas. Then he walks out of Dallas for nothing, and you do nothing to replace his production or his leadership. That is incompetence. I cannot blame Luka for that. Luka has been carrying bums since, look at who he plays with in Eurobasket. When your third best player is Vlatko Kankar, that's a problem. He does this overseas and he does this in the States. I'm not blaming Luka. This dude has played basketball from the time that we left the Western Conference Finals up until, like 10 days before the season started. If his body falls apart, that's incompetence on the Dallas Mavericks part. Period. I'm not going to blame Luka for all of the Mavericks issues. When you take a look at the entire situation, it's incompetence all around.
And Kanchar was giving us the work too. Don't forget.
Yes, exactly my point. Exactly my point. Like, we can talk about Luka's faults, his flaws, as much as, the next superstar. But until Luka is actually playing with a competent roster with guys who can actually dribble the ball, I don't want to hear all of these criticisms about not getting people involved. I wouldn't get them involved either if they're not shooting and they can't do anything. Are you kidding me? Like, what are we doing?
I've got Rich Blackman down below in the chat box. If you look down the bottom right, we got a packed stage. If you want to come up, raise your hand. I'll try to work in everybody. Rich Blackman asked, anybody who reps the Mavs, so a Mavs fan or a Luka fan, two-part question. Other than the Mavs, what team would start Dwight Powell over Christian Wood? And what team would the second best player come off the bench and play only 24 minutes a game? Couple of questions out there. So shout out to Rich Blackman. If you are down below and you can't get up here, push your thoughts down there, and you'll get it up here. That's how it works. He's on a tight time schedule, so I'm going to Jose first. He's cutting the line. One of the hosts, as is Jazz, with 77 Spaces. Jose, good morning. We are having a basically come-to meeting for the Mavs, and like I know you're tired of it, and I get it. Most Mavs fans who watched every game, they have a different viewpoint. Just like if you are somebody who watches your own. My biggest thing that I saw last night was a coach who had zero answers. That is my takeaway. Zero answers. Zero. None. Had no idea what to do on offense, no idea what to do for defense. Probably just sat there and was wondering what he was going to order for dinner, is what I looked at it as. Jose, good morning.
Good morning, Chris. Uh, man, I'm over here working. I knew the space when they would come up, the Dallas Mavericks would be a talking point. I mean, they were the only game played last night in the entire NBA. So if NBA fans are watching this game and seeing possessions where you have Spencer Dinwiddie out there with Christian Wood, Josh Green, Reggie Bullock, and let me see, Maxi. You watch that for a couple of good minutes. I don't know how you can come to the conclusion that Luca needs to get his other teammates involved. Uh, you've seen minutes without Luca on the court. Luca is damn near playing 40 minutes a game this season. That is terrible. That's an indictment on the roster. And kind of like um Rich said down below, I mean, look at our starters. Who on this team would y'all put on another team to start? Uh, I think Luca and Dinwiddie are probably the only two starters who average more than 10 points every game. And you're telling me that, Tim Hardaway Jr. would start? No. Dorian Finney-Smith, maybe. But even Dorian Finney-Smith has been struggling to defend and keep his players in front of him, and even get down to a shooting rhythm from three. My thing is, like, if you look at what the Bucks are doing with Carter, with Grayson Allen, those guys are shooting and playing better than what our players are giving us for the Dallas Mavericks. I mean, I critique Luca just as much as any other Mavs fan. I'll call him out for his weak ass defense. I'll call him out for his lack of intrigue when he plays against a Detroit Piston. But when he puts up 30 something points, I mean, it's like, okay, what else do you want him to do? We just seen this man play one of his best two-way performances against the Golden State Warriors, and all people could go down and talk about was a traveling violation against Steph Curry without acknowledging how Luka was able to cut off Kaminga, cut off Jordan Poole in scenarios. It is very tiring when you hear other people just constantly say, Luca this, Luca that, Luca this, Luca that. We lost Jalen Brunson, and Jalen Brunson is proving to the Mavs front office that they are a bunch of dumbasses who didn't see the need to have another ball handler, another leader, another guy who is able to work off of Luca, and also Luca can depend on. When you seen last season, Luca was easily comfortable with letting Dinwiddie, letting Jalen Brunson get whatever they wanted because he trusted those guys. When you look at KP, when he was on the Mavericks, Luca couldn't trust KP. When KP posted up a 6'2" guard or a 6'6" wing, KP was turning the damn ball over because he can't dribble and he's not an effective mid-range shooter. Another thing that has to be talked about is beyond Tim Hardaway Jr., Reggie Bullock, and some of these other guys who are not even shooting league average from three, is that the Mavs have no rim pressure. How can you win games if you're not even able to attack the middle of the paint or even get to your mid-range spot? I mean, we just have a lot of guys who are catching threes, and I don't know how many times People have to hear it in this space, have to hear it from the Twitter timeline that these guys just are one dimensional. You have too many guys that you rely on just to be good or better on their medium margins from three, from even the free throw line. Like it's just a tired talking point. And at this point, when you come to 77 spaces and you hear us talking exactly how me and Jazz are talking, or even some of the other Mavs fans who have talked about the Mavericks, you can hear that we're not on high dopamine about this team or this roster. But yet, the national talking points is you get 48 minutes of, Mike Breen, whoever else is commentating the game. They're going to give you a bare minimum um, a script of how this Mavs team is, and then when you're watching it live, that's the biggest gripe I have is you're watching it live, but you're still letting the commentator or the national media pundits tell you how the Mavericks are when you're watching it live and you're just not watching what is being displayed. That's the craziest thing. That's like me watching the Golden State Warriors and just saying, "Oh, Steph Curry is doing it alone." I mean, he has a guy in Andrew Wiggins who's putting up 19 points, shooting 44% from three right now. Nobody on the Mavs roster is shooting 44%. You got Jordan Poole. If he were to start, he would put up 20 something, and he would get to the rim effectively. I just don't know what to do when it comes to the Mavericks talk because it's the same shit. It's tiring. It's a chore. If you just on the Twitter timeline, you could hear Mavs fans say this, but I don't know. You want to attack Luca? That's all fine and dandy, but when we talk about your teams and we say something out of pocket that's not true, I mean, you're going to attack us. You're going to drag us on the timeline. But if we are telling you what's wrong with the Dallas Mavericks, you're like, no, that's not the problem. It's Luca not getting his players involved. I rest my piece because I'm not about to do this shit all day.
Check out 77 Spaces 1 hour before tip off. And, this is what I say. When you go to another, it's like an away game. When you go to another team's fans' home court, you get a different sense of what the NBA really is. I want to go to Akil. Akil, you got some time. Go ahead and say what you've got. We got Jazz, Ernesto, Micah, EK, and Joe still to go. But I do know I did cut you off, so my apologies, Akil. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Oh no, you're good, man. No, I wholeheartedly also agree with everything that Jose is saying. Like I said it at the top, like I completely get it. Like we're not gonna sacrifice Luca on ball touches to go let Josh Green and Maxi Kleber and like all these random dudes that really can't do anything cook. Like I don't really know. I think the one thing the Mavs actually should really actually look into is like if they could get any type of dude that's a connector, like anybody that can like keep the leverage that Luca creates, like when Luca actually does create an advantage, because like you see it like if like Maxi Kleber's like not any short roll like kind of playmaker guy, but if they could get anybody that could actually do that a little bit to like actually find something that would be really really good. That would actually help quite a bit. Not gonna lie, but I mean, it is what it is with them. It's like Luca really does create this like really really high floor with what the Mavs are, because let's face it, like he's one of the best offensive players in basketball. Like he is that. But what it doesn't do on the other end, I think it also like limits their team's ceiling as far as like what they are offensively as well. But that is like the live and die with Luca ball, right? So yeah, let's see. Like maybe they can get some like better people. Like let's see if they have anything that they can put on the trading block in the next like coming years. Um, but this is kind of like what they are, at least this season and next season. So we will see. TBD.
Yeah, that's kind of why I put out a tweet. I think 2 weeks ago, or maybe it was last week. I don't know. Um, if I'm the Dallas Mavericks, I'm on the phone every day with Leon Rose to try to pry Emmanuel quickly away from the Knicks. Like he's behind Jalen Brunson and RJ Barrett now. You got Quentin Grimes up there now. Like he knows his days are potentially numbered in New York, and he wants to get some burn. And man, would he not be the perfect fit for Dallas?
I wanted them to get Lonzo so badly that summer, man. Like Lonzo was a guy who I thought would have
Shoot,
been like.
but you see where they would be now.
He was a guy who was like tailor made, like a good point of attack defender, like can be a secondary connector guy, can catch and shoot, like everything that like he would have been so good. But damn, it is what it is, man.
Let's go to Ernesto first, and then we'll bring back Micah. We'll get Jazz, EK, and then Joe. Ernesto, appreciate the patience. I saw your hand up for a couple minutes. Thank you, my friend. Good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. Good morning. I just came in. I saw the Mavericks conversation with Luca as well too. And obviously, since he's going to be a good for a long time, there's going to be a lot of conversations on Luca and what we expect out of him, his responsibility towards his team, and everything like that. So, I mean, to me, every time I watch the Mavericks games, which for some reason I stream very often. I mean, he is a premier guy, so he's going to stream his games often. He gets double team a lot. He's amazing, right? But I put the stats up. He gets double teamed more than anybody in the NBA. It's clear. Everyone is just saying stop Luka, right? But it's what he does after the ball that it just annoys the hell out of me and why it doesn't win games, right? He passes off the double team quick, right? Because they double team him really high up. He said, nope, you're not even going to start the offense. And a lot of you guys said that they don't have any playmakers, anyone who can actually put the ball on the floor. So it ends up with an open three, which is good, right? But that's literally the only shot that it ends up with, right? And Luka usually is just left like, well, I guess I'm out of this play for the rest of the play. A play begins sometimes when a superstar passes the ball. Okay, that's when it begins because that's where the advantage starts, right? That doesn't mean you have to end up with an open three every single time because that's actually what everyone's game plan for. That's what the Warriors game plan against you last year, right? It doesn't matter what's around you, right? He actually reminds me of an early an early LeBron and James Harden as well too, because that's just how they want to beat them, right? And that's how they actually constructed the team. They didn't try to reinvent the wheel. They say, hey, look, we got a superstar that can pass the ball, do just about everything. Let's get a bunch of 3-and-D players around him. That's why, honestly, Christian Wood's in the doghouse because he can't play D, right? And so it doesn't fit their little box of what they wanted from a team around Luka. And now when they see, hey, those threes don't fall all the time, especially when your boys are trying to play D, but they can't guard anybody. What's gonna happen, right? So to me, it's a twofold problem, right? We'll see if they can get like JaVale McGee involved with Christian Wood. I mean, Christian Wood for some reason in the doghouse is because he can't play D, but get something in there to where you can actually get some type of interior defense or something. But
Oh man, that's so funny, bro.
what's going on, Akil?
No, I'll just say let's see if we can get JaVale McGee involved.
Yeah,
Just made me laugh a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm
it
not
is laughable.
I'm
But I
not
mean,
gonna lie.
at this point, they need anything. They need anything to actually get.
Hey, let's get the noted NBA player with asthma that can literally only play 15 minutes of basketball a game. Like, yeah, okay.
Akil, you don't need much from JaVale McGee. You really just need him to play interior defense and get some rebounds. They got out rebounded by 29 or 22 rebounds last night to the Detroit Pistons.
Well, yeah,
I'm
because
not sure.
we have
It was
rebounders on our
20 plus
basketball team.
rebounds that
I'm
they got
sorry.
out rebounded by the Detroit Pistons. Okay, so
Yeah, whoa. Okay, see,
Yeah,
I
No,
was
no, no, no,
yeah.
no, no. Wait, 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 wait.
They're a
I
better
was
No, 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 no.
rebounding team.
No, no, no,
yeah,
They're
no.
a
I
Stop,
better
was
stop, stop, stop,
very
rebounding
stop, stop,
team.
very
stop, stop, stop,
cool
stop,
with
stop, stop,
that
stop.
until you
Stop.
trashed
It's
my
by every
Pistons.
team. It's by
Um,
every team.
like we are a very good rebounding basketball team.
Well, yeah, I
listen,
understand.
let me just land my plane.
Dorsey is right. It is every
We can
team.
talk about I'll land my plane here as well too.
Good.
I think I think it's just really just you guys are blaming Jason Kidd. This is exactly how it was formed. Like I said, with a early LeBron and a James Harden. It's hard to win with players who dominate the ball so much and don't do much after they pass the ball. Right? It's actually extremely hard because LeBron had to get a second alpha in Wade and other players who actually don't need to. He can actually not be involved in the play, and it can be a successful play. Right? It's hard. It's going to be hard. He's going to be a perennial, I guess, contender. He can bring teams to the playoffs, but stop bringing the team around him. It's hard to form a team around that type of play style in general, where they get double teamed right away and he's not involved in the play. It's easy for a Curry when he does a bunch of off ball movements, but it's hard for a player like his style, like a James Harden style, like a LeBron style, to actually form teams around them.
All right, good point. I'm going to hit this button because I'm 15 minutes overdue for this, ladies and gentlemen. And this is one of those reads. We are brought to you by our sponsor, Slam Goods, slamgoods.com. You can get your apparel needs. You can get some of your Christmas presents for the basketball fan in your life with collectibles such as Funko Pops and bobbleheads. But I'm actually going to speak to the ladies specifically. Their W Slam hoodie is on sale. It's the crop hoodie. And I know it's winter. You're not buying it for winter. You're buying it for next year because it's normally $55. It's on sale for $19.99. Use promo code HoopSpaces to save an additional 15%. I will get that tweet up there. They have it in black, white, and then they have this unicorn, what I call unicorn color. It's that cotton candy spray paint thingy. Like, I'm not good with that, but I'm good at looking at a good deal. And what I see is $35 off plus 15% over at slamgoods.com. I will get that tweet up here in a moment. Up next, I'm going to let Jazz respond, Micah respond as we're talking Mavs. We have E.K. Johnson and Joe in the wings. We'll also ask Malika Walker, host of the Rewind Pod, her thoughts. And then we are going to talk some Pistons because, like, they did something last night that I think a lot of people thought that they were going to be able to do at the beginning of the season, and that was actually control the course and pace of the game with rebounding. And we're actually just talking about it now. Phenomenal rebounding team, and that is without Jalen Duren, who's just eating rebounds, having his normal game. All right, slamgoods.com is the website. Promo code HoopSpaces, save 15%. And then, of course, I shout out the Pistons, and Nikhil had to leave. All right, we'll go next to Jazz to let her respond. Michael will get in here. We've got EK and Joe, but we'll get to Malika after EK. Thank you, everybody. Good morning, Jazz. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I just wanted to discuss more of the incompetence of the Dallas Mavericks because Maxi Kleber, who pretty much last season was probably on his way out of the league, like his body is cooked. We extended him recently, I think for 3 years. JaVale McGee, we signed him. He's 35 years old. We gave him a 3-year contract with a player option for his last year. And the GM went on a radio show yesterday and said, well, we're just waiting for JaVale McGee to get his legs back under him. Excuse me? Excuse me? What legs? He didn't do anything this summer besides work out with Spencer Dinwiddie. I'm sorry, if practices with your future teammate is the reason why you can't play basketball right now because you're washed or something, like, no, it's incompetence all over, like all across the board. I'm sorry. Reggie Bullock, he's on the decline. And the crazy thing is we talk about, what Luka doesn't do after the double team. If you watch that Warriors game, Luka did a lot. If you truly watched it and looked at the highlights, Luka was moving off ball depending on who was on the court. When Josh Green was on that court, Luka would set a screen, he'd do that curl, and then he'd kick it back to Josh when he was wide open. Luka, I just need him to vocalize his concerns and to vocalize his request because his body language, depending on who is on the court, is very, very telling. It's extremely telling. And I'm just hoping that someone in that front office, and you know what, we can't even just talk about Nico and Mark Cuban. We have to also talk about the fact that Mike Finley is in there. Dirk is in that front office as well. And y'all see this stuff, and you're still trying to waterboard us with Kool-Aid about the talent on this team. I am sick of it. Dirk, I'm sorry, love you, bro, but Luka is not you. You cannot convince him that he can, yeah, man, you can stay in the trenches for 20 years. No, the clock is ticking, and I know Mavericks fans hate hearing that. But the clock is ticking, and it's time for the Dallas Mavericks to get serious. Period. And it's time for Luka to get serious. And if that means you got to be a diva and be a brat and let them know you won't like it, then so be it. Because at this point, I'm ready to blow the team up, Chris. I just want new talent. It's bad in post game when Devin Harris, who used to play for the Mavericks, is like, hey, At some point, you just got to go to the guys and say, hey, who actually wants to be here and who wants to play, and play those guys? Because if I see Reggie Bullock, Maxi Kleba, Dwight Powell, Tim Hardaway Jr., if I see those guys on the court anymore for more than 20 minutes, I am going to lose my mind. Period. I'm sick of the incompetence, and it's time for somebody to put on their big boy pants and be a real owner of a team or be a real GM.
Love it. Micah, hop in here. As we wait for him to unlock his
mic
phone.
on? Yeah. Chris, let me paint a picture for you, right? So imagine you just got this fresh, hot, straight out the oven, nice croissant. You're enjoying it. And somebody comes up to you and says, you know what? That croissant is just not good enough. You need to get some pumpkin spice latte involved with that. That is what it sounds like when you got this generational talent out there and y'all are saying, hey, why don't y'all get these bums involved more? Because they can't play. And as with the picture I painted, you will get the same reaction from me. A shake of the head and me saying, do better. But like Jazz is talking about, we keep on resigning all these bums. Like, dude, Maxey is struggling, but even guys that are struggling, when they are expiring contracts, you can still get off of them to somebody to get you somebody that can contribute. So,
go ahead and finish.
But yeah, and as upset as so saying Dirk could say, hey, convince Luka to stick in the trenches. I think Luka, if he is honest with him, would probably say, hey, Dirk, you see a Tyson Chandler out there? I don't. You see a Jason Terry out there? I don't. You see a Sean Marion, Michael Finley, Steve Nash? I don't. So you didn't stick in the trenches like they're asking me to do now. That would probably be his honest reply. But there's my take.
All right, appreciate it, Micah. So I said earlier that the league, I believe, is entering a market correction in terms of value acquired in contract versus value acquired in free agency. And when I say contract, that's trade, and a value via draft pick, right? We used to go into the trade deadline saying, expiring deal. You're gonna see this. This is gonna happen, and I don't know if that necessarily happens this year. And I say that because let's take Charlotte as an example, and they have Gordon Hayward, and that's $30 million, and you're in a position where you're like, oh, well, we can trade for that expiring contract by giving them THJ and Dwight Powell and a first-round draft pick. But Charlotte doesn't want to keep the money on the books. And that first-round pick, which likely would be into the mid-20s or higher, no longer represents equitable value for the transaction. So, what does that mean? It means the trade partners are going to be squeezed. It's pushing everybody to diametric positions, creating a vacuum in the middle, which happens every time we get to the end of a collective bargaining agreement, or we know that there's going to be an influx of major salary numbers, right? So, part of the problem that the Mavericks are in is not controllable by the front office or the owner. But, I'm not giving them an excuse. I'm merely stating a fact, but it's very small. Their decisions prior to them have exacerbated the position that they lay in. If none of you understood that and have a question, throw that question up, and I will try my best to answer it in a reply on a tweet, because that was a very condensed take that really expands 7 years of basketball economics as well as front office philosophy and contracts. So I don't want you to take that and misunderstand what I'm saying. So if you have any questions, feel free either at me or put it in the chat box below. Up next, we're going to go to EK. We'll get Malika in. We've got Joe, and then we'll set you up for the executive hater, my man KP. EK, good morning. Appreciate your patience.
No problem at all, Chris. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
All right, wonderful. I have been on here for the past, I don't know, probably couple of days, weeks, lamenting the Dallas Mavericks ineptitude as far as coaching and the front office culture. And that came to a boiling point last night. Last night was a hard watch. And just to put it out there, I'm a Houston Rockets fan, and I never thought that in my wildest dreams I would be defending a Dallas Maverick as much as I've defended Luka over the past couple of days. But I hear what everybody's been saying regarding, the ineptitude and the problems with the roster. And I agree with all of that. But I think what you guys, Mavericks fans, should look towards is solutions. And I know that can be hard to look towards because you're dealing with, quite frankly, a front office that I think is more interested in putting butts in seats than winning games. The only thing that you guys rank first in is attendance, and a lot of that has to do with Luka Doncic, right? But um, I feel like the starting lineup probably needs to change. I think we've been calling for Jaden Hardy to get some run for the longest time. I feel like with a starting lineup of Jaden Hardy, Tim Hardaway, Luka Doncic, Kleber, and Christian Wood, it gives you a better chance to try to maybe pull away from teams early on. It's just hard because the personnel isn't conducive for very good rebounding and very good pace. When you look at the Dallas Mavericks pace, you guys rank 30th in pace. And when you rank 30th in pace and you can't rebound the basketball, it doesn't matter that your defensive rating is like 12 out of 30 and your offensive rating is like 10 out of 30, right? When you can't control the game and you're relying on one guy to initiate the offense for everybody else, the personnel on that team doesn't have the ability to create shots for themselves consistently, right? And the second best player, a guy by the name of Christian Wood, has seemingly, for God knows why, has been ostracized by Jason Kidd for God knows what. It can't just be defense because he does so much more for you um, that that would be positive towards you guys getting more wins. Um, and I think, coming off the bench, if you guys bring Spence off the bench, followed by, Josh Green, Dorian Finney-Smith, Dwight Powell, Bertans, move Bullock all the way down to the end of the bench. I mean, he's averaging 28 minutes a game and he's shooting 27% from three. It's a joke. And I feel sorry for Luka because for people who are saying that he needs to move the ball more, I was watching the game last night. At the beginning of overtime, he got maybe 2, 3 steps past half court, and they were doubling him like he was Steph Curry. The way Steph Curry gets doubled on a high, as soon as he crosses
Thank
half
you. Thank you.
half court. Right? And obviously he's not the shooter that Steph Curry is. So why is he getting doubled? Because they don't want him to initiate the offense, and he gives an extremely precise bounce pass to Maxi Kleber. And I understand what you were saying, Chris, about Maxi Kleber needing to make a decision, or he had already made the decision to pass to a cutter, and maybe Tim Hardaway shouldn't have cut. But that's simple basketball, right? High screen and roll, extremely high to the point where you have all of this real estate. You are a professional athlete. You are not an amateur. You're making millions of dollars a year. You have to be able to make that decision to say, okay, do I take this layup or do I wait for the man to step up, the secondary defender to step up? And then once he steps up, once he shows a little bit, if Tim Hardaway cuts or if he stays, that's when I'll make my decision. These are simple things that I was taught playing high school basketball. So the fact that you're somewhat trying to give Kleber a pass on that is ridiculous. And also the layup that he missed, that's emblematic of what Luka Doncic has been dealing with this entire year. And I said it a couple weeks back when he was on his 30-point scoring streak at the beginning of the year, and we were arguing about whether he could keep it up or not. It's not about whether you keep it up or not. It's about how long he's going to want to keep up with this garbage. Because at the end of the day, it could be cool. He's getting his numbers. He's doing all that. But at a certain point, he knows what it's about. It's about winning, and it's about winning rings. And if he's dealing with a front office and a coach that is that doesn't have the ability to either game plan or put a team around him that's conducive for his play style, for winning, he will leave. He will leave. So I think the Mavericks fans, like I said, I'm going to keep on saying it. I really think you guys need to petition to get Jason Kidd out of there. Obviously getting the owner out is a lot harder and stuff, and the GM a lot harder. But Jason Kidd needs to go, because when Detroit made their run, he didn't have any sort of answers, and a lot of that has to do with the personnel. But when you don't have personnel, the coaching acumen has to be able to step up and shine through. And what we've seen is that he doesn't have the coaching acumen of a high school coach, let alone someone who should be worthy of coaching an NBA team with a transcendent super. Like,
Guys, come on.
I mean, listen, at the end, I watched Mavericks games for the past. Listen, I was on the train of everybody else. Luka needs to share the ball more. Then I started watching the games. I'm telling you, he's getting double teamed as soon as he passes half court, and when that happens, he's throwing a simple bounce pass to a roller, Kleba, sometimes maybe it's Christian Wood, the White Pal, and they don't have the ability to make the simple decision to say, let me see where the defense is coming from once I have all this real estate, and then I'll pass there, and then we could just move the ball around. That's simple. I was doing that in high school. These are millionaires. Think about it. They make millions of dollars. I was doing this in high school for free.
Well,
and they can't do
see, you shouldn't really equate production and money. It's a job, and they're getting paid, bro.
I understand that, Chris, but at the end of the day, and we understand they don't set the market, but at the end of the day, they reap the benefits, and they're expected to know simple basketball acumen. They should know that. This isn't something that is that we're asking a lot of, right? It just isn't. You understand what I'm saying? So
I totally understand, because Jason Kidd doesn't have the greatness of Doc Rivers. I'm agreeing with you 100%.
Chris, it's so crazy though, because like just sitting here and listening, like remember before the season started when Jason Kidd first got to Dallas, everybody was so excited. This is the coach that's gonna do it for Luka, and now we're here. Yeah, it's crazy to hear.
Joe, hop in here.
I want to say this, like, saying pain, understand pain. And, saying, I'm not trying to, I just want you, no disrespect to any of y'all Mavs fans. I'm not trying to lump y'all in or tie y'all into what we was going through, but it sounds eerily similar. So what I'm saying is that what EK said at the end, saying about the coach, but I just hope y'all understand that, yeah, he got to go before y'all have to deal with what we had to deal with, because it sounds eerily similar. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, he's a Brooklyn fan. He's talking about Brooklyn when Kai's out. It was just Durant. And what's really funny? There are direct parallels to when Kyrie Irving and Ben Simmons was out, and Brooklyn was just KD and a bunch of dudes. Like, if you ever watched any of those games, and shout out to Nets fans, because they were riding this emotional roller coaster too. Like, he's not lying. They would be up when they would win with KD and nobody else, but then when they lost, they'd be like, "Oh wow, we really are this bad." All right,
Chris, I'm pointing out the coach aspect, because, like I said, it sounds eerily similar to what we
right
to what with Steve Nash, and like he said, like I see it too. Like like Jason Kidd's not the right coach for that team. So I think before y'all go through what we went through, I hope he's gone. That's what I'm just saying.
I want to give Dorcius some time, but first we're going to go to KP, the executive hater, who's got another show coming out of KP was right, ... again. And look, I'm excited for this as well. I don't probably watch as many movies as all of you, but I listen and consume audiobooks and certain serial pods. The Quiet Part Out Loud. And I'm just going to put that out there, is something that has been on my list now for about a month and a half. And KP is going to talk about it. KP, good morning.
Thank you, Christopher. Appreciate you letting me up. I got a short amount of time, but I'm gonna say this: Sunday, 10:05. KP was right. That again. I've been right about a lot of stuff. But I this recommendation for this audio podcast on Spotify exclusive from Jordan Peele and his production company. It's a horror podcast. It's so good. It's a 12-part series, a 12-part podcast. This thing should be made into a movie. It's about 30 to 45 minutes per episode. I suggest everyone listen to it. And you don't gotta come to my space to review it. Listen to it because it's great content. If you like to be scared, if you like suspense, if you like who done it or how it's done, if you like multiverse stuff, if you like great storytelling, great acting, by just listening, this thing is awesome. So yeah, Quiet Part Loud on Spotify. If you don't like Spotify, that's fine. However you get your podcast, listen to it. And I think, matter of fact, I put my KP was right brand on. You're gonna love it. Secondly, all you iPhoners, y'all trash. Get your life together. Get your life right. Stop using inferior products and services. Y'all are looking bad out here in these the Twitter streets and these iPhone streets and these cell phone streets. Stop it already, man. KP was right. When y'all come out and Apple's about to ban Twitter on their platform, and now this crazy lady's doing some song singing Jay-Z talking about I'm Mandy. Oh, I got an iPhone. Oh, it's iPhone life. Y'all suck. Y'all suck as much as these Dallas Mavericks suck. So get your life right, get a better team, get a better phone. It'll be all right. KP was right. That again. 10:05 on Sunday. There's no more Game of Thrones. There's no more House of Dragon until 4 years from now. So come on out Sunday. You know you gotta go to work on Monday. It's fine. You'll be fine.
Shout out KP was right. The benchmark movement for public consumption. We'll be pushing into to that realm of pop culture. We have all things anime as well. There's a couple other creators who have done some things with music.
Oh, Chris, they call travel on me again. I gotta go back to work. They call travel on me again. Jesus Christ.
Have a good day, KP. Check it out. Sundays at 10:05. We'll be doing some more things in terms of pop culture. We had one that was definitely real cool. It's called The Tunnel with KP, Malika, and Cedric. But there's limitations that you can do streaming music, recording it, and then repurposing content due to copyright issues. But I think we could probably get something like that back up and running fairly soon, so we can have our foray into pop culture. Up next, we're going to talk quickly with Malika Walker of the Rewind Pod. Before I go to her, I want to give her some time to get ready, because apparently, like, sometimes I just shock people by dropping their name. I want to go ahead and hit this button and give myself a point because, ladies and gentlemen, we are here, right, to give Killian Hayes some praise. So if you are down below or if you are on stage, go ahead and cue up your praise for Mr. Killian Hayes, because everybody clowned this young man. And he deserves his apologies and flowers. That'll be coming up after we talk with Malika Walker. Malika, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. And KP, you are hilarious, my friend. And but iPhone, I'm good. I'm good on the iPhone. Um, I'm appled out between the iPad, the iPhone, and the Mac. And I'm good over here. But like, I don't watch. I'm going to be honest, and I don't really watch a lot of Dallas Mavericks because it's Luca and others. It's Luca and like Diana Ross and the Supremes. Is Luca and then his backup singers or whatever. No disrespect to the Mavericks. I think Luca is great, but like Tim Hardaway, is he worse than I thought he was? Like listening to y'all, it's like, he has no help. So I don't really have anything to add when it comes to Luca just not having the help he needs to get to the next level, and get out, get further in the playoffs. But like when I just wanted to know that Cedric and me and KP, I was going to link you. I'll send you a note. We're doing a dedication. We're going to do a space dedicated to Amy Winehouse soon. Um, like I guess a tunnel kind of regroup, but not really a tunnel regroup, just to talk about Amy Winehouse because I've been watching documentaries on her, listening to a lot of her music, and I just want to do a tribute space to the genius that she was and didn't realize just how talented she was and her gift. And when you listen to her music and her songwriting and the skill level and her voice, like some of her performances you look at, she's not even showing effort. She's not even really trying at her, but it's flawless. And she didn't, and when she did a recording with Tony Bennett, she kept messing up because she was so nervous. And he was like, "You're good. You're fine." And she just kept apologizing. She just didn't have, but she admitted she had a low self esteem and about her looks and her, her everything. And I just want to show her some love. So we're going to do that space coming up, and I have a space coming up. I'm doing a space on every room and every team in the NBA, a space and time in their history. I did so much Lakers content this summer that I was like, I really want to look at other teams and learn more about their history. We did the Nets this week. I mean, a week and a half ago. Next up is the Cavaliers, but the Mark Price, Brad Daugherty, um, era. And we're going to do the Philadelphia 76ers. I agree with you, Chris, on the timing. Looking at the AI era and Charles Barkley. So we have some things coming up, and so definitely check me out. But I like the future of Detroit. I think they have some interesting pieces, and it'll be interesting to see how those young pieces blossom and grow. But they could have something percolating right now. Killian Hayes, I was excited when Killian Hayes originally went to Detroit, but he's had a rough go of it. Like, he's had a rough go of it so far. And I was like, okay, this year is going to be the year that he breaks out. Then it doesn't happen. And so I've been on this Killian Hayes, being a fan, hoping he works out. So it's nice to see he had he had a winning shot last night. It's nice to see. So I'm happy for him. But can I ask a question about another team?
Sure.
Damn, Andrea left. I was
Oh,
curious
well,
about Matt Ryan and whether Laker fans think he'll be picked up by somebody else. I was curious. At least at the G League. I don't want him going back to you know, just being
oh,
completely out the
well,
league.
he probably won't unless there's a need due to injury, or and they sign him to a 10-day or 2-way.
Oh,
Because,
okay.
I mean, if he can't shoot on the Lakers, who need shooting, then where's he gonna go to shoot?
I know. I guess I just was feeling bad for him because didn't they find him on DoorDash?
Yeah, he was working DoorDash, but he's a hell of a lacrosse player too, I believe. So I think he'll be good
And
either
I
way.
wanted to ask also. I may pull out a poll. Shaq has a documentary on HBO Max, and I wasn't going to watch it. I did watch the first two episodes, and it was interesting to see if people really want to talk about it or just keep moving because I feel like people feel they know Shaq's story, but it was interesting. But that's it until you get to um, like Kyrie and Jerry Jones. Oh, actually, I had to log out at 12, so I may have to come back. Okay.
All right. All right. Up next, Killian Hayes, praise and flowers, ladies and gentlemen. He had a phenomenal game, and if you don't remember, he was drafted by the Detroit Pistons. That there was a huge split here. There was teams that said that he had tremendous length and size as a 6'5" point guard with a 6'8" wingspan and high basketball IQ. And then there was another side that said that he was not a good enough athlete, and the basketball IQ was really more physical dominance at his age level in France. And if you look at the course of his career, it's been very tumultuous, so to speak. And now if you remember at the end of last year, there were some times where they sat Cade Cunningham, and he had some good games. And a lot of people were saying, as Malika alluded to once again, he's going to break out. He's going to break out. And then he opened up this season very, very poorly. Like, we're not going to sugarcoat it. And in fact, he's still shooting below 38%. He was shooting below 30% on 3-point percentage. It was just rough. He couldn't hit any shot. It kind of affected his confidence, but he has rebounded as of late. And last night was a phenomenal game against Dallas. He scored 8 consecutive points unanswered with a 2-pointer and then 2 3-pointers. And then he basically saved the Detroit Pistons in a back-to-back possessions where he hit a 10-foot pull-up jumper and a 20-foot pull-up jumper. So shout out to Killian Hayes. If you want to go ahead and come up and give your apology or give your flowers real quick before we head into the swamp that will be this Kanye discussion, because that's all it's really become. We'll go to James first. James, your thoughts on Killian Hayes. We'll go around the room. Then we'll go and close out the Mavs talk with Dorsey so we can get his final thoughts in. James, go ahead. Floor is yours.
Man, the only thing I can say, that brother could play. But what I want to get back to is the Mavericks. They shouldn't let Brunson go. They don't have no floor general. And I dropped the mic on this one, Chris. Check this out. Keep everybody on the Mavericks team. Hire Doc Rivers. That's my take on that one.
Yeah, there you go. Doc Rivers' greatness. Killian Hayes, still the baby-faced assassin. He's been in the league now. I think this is his third year, and he's still only 21 years old. And we all know players develop on their own time, but if this is something that he is going to be able to continue to do, he's going to be able to fit well, at least as the backup guard to Cade Cunningham, next to Jaden Ivey, who also had a very good game last night. Jaden Ivey off the bench because he's coming back from injury, still playing 35 minutes. He had 16.6 boards and a steal, still a little bit wild. I remember three sequences specifically. He drove in, hit a bank shot. Then he also hit a three, but he had a wild pass that kind of looped around one Dallas Maverick and then into the hands of another, and Dallas was able to run down and eventually get a three-pointer. So shout out to Jaden Ivey, good game off the bench. Bojan Bogdanovic, 30 points, but 28 in less than 3 quarters of play. And then also another player to shout out, Marvin Bagley, coming back from injury, also shaking off of the stigma from his time in Sacramento. 34 minutes, 7 for 10 from the floor, 19 points and 13 boards. Still going left. Still yet to see a right-handed turn. All right, we've got Bonkai up here. Bonkai, good morning or good afternoon or good evening, depending upon what state of mind you are in. Praise for Killian Hayes, and what are your thoughts on the NBA?
Hey, yeah, what's up, Chris? Good morning, everybody. It's still 11:48 over here in New York, so still morning technically. I wanted to ask about Killian Hayes actually, because I've seen people, calling him the worst player in the entire NBA, the worst, right? And it's been from some Knicks fans because obviously we've played them a total of 6 times already. It feels like between preseason and regular season. I watched him play. I don't think he's as bad as people say he is. I think he's a serviceable young player still trying to find his footing. But what do you think overall, Chris? Do you think it's just a case of people burying another young player way too early into his career, calling him the worst player ever, and the worst player in the league, or do you think there's some type of merit? I don't think so, but
I thought that he was going to be a project. Like there are projects that take 2 years or 3 years, but then there are projects that can take 5 or 6 years. And you got to remember, he came over at 18. And in fact, actually, I think he declared when he was 17 and went through this process. I also think he was miscast as a point guard. Like he's Alec Burks, but better at point guard. And that doesn't necessarily mean you are a point guard. It means you're more of a combo guard who can assist. But over the course of the last couple of years, Dwayne Casey's been forced to kind of play him due to injuries. He flashes a nuance at times. The problem is he's just not consistent. I'm thinking if he's able to get the minutes and maybe Dwayne Casey does kind of buy in more so than just having to be relegated to playing him, he can thrive. I don't necessarily think Cade Cunningham is coming back anytime soon. And I thought that perhaps if they were going to try to compete, they actually might have started Corey Joseph instead, give him like 22 minutes and then bring in Killian. But credit to Dwayne Casey, who's not known for, bringing young players along. He's changed the way he's coached, mostly due to the fact that the roster is just young. But he's learned to let go of his dependency on veterans. And I think this is going to be a good positive developmental year for the Detroit Pistons. I still don't think Dwayne Casey is a long-term answer. And so if they were to hire a coach, I hope that they hire a coach who is going to continue to do what's been a pretty good job of player development. If you look at the reclamation project of what Killian Hayes was kind of turned into by fans and media making fun of him. Marvin Bagley, again, is doing phenomenal. But Kevin Knox is another guy that they took a flyer on. And, if he gets 12 to 15 minutes and only 3 or 4 shots, but they're more they're more predicated on him learning a specific role of corner shooter or wing shooter first, but then, a better defender, they can turn him into a serviceable 3-and-D guy off the bench. I was kind of surprised that they benched Sadiq Bey and brought him off the bench and started Isaiah Livers. I probably would have kept Sadiq out there. And then you're going to run into the problem of Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren. I think if Duren gets the minutes Isaiah Stewart gets, he produces the same, if not better. But going to Killian, I think he can be even more than serviceable. He really did just take Detroit on his back and beat Luka and the Mavericks. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
And you
What
know
do you
what's going to
think?
happen now, right? You know what's going to happen now. So they beat Luka and the Mavs. So now the Mavs are going to take it out on the Knicks tomorrow.
Absolutely. The Knicks are cooked, man.
Unless Jalen Brunson comes out and he has like a 40-50 piece, you know what I'm saying? But Luka's going to be pissed off tomorrow.
Oh, man.
What do you think of Isaiah Stewart, though? Is he coming along? Like, what do you think of Isaiah Stewart and his development year to year?
I think it's starting to get to him, the fact that I think he knows he's out of Detroit. And that might be best for both parties. He's an undersized 5, but if you put him in 3 different teams, I think he's a double-double machine. I think he needs to be focused more on what his strengths are as opposed to trying to immediately add range to his game. I would rather see him focus on being able to do what Julius Randle does when he knows he has somebody beaten in the post, as opposed to him trying to do a step back. But at times he wants to do step backs, and you're saying, bro, you're Isaiah Stewart. Long-term prognosis, he could end up being a Montrezl Harrell, or he could end up being Naz Reid, 2 now undersized bigs who kind of been used in spots. Or I could see him being a combination of I don't want to say Ben Wallace because he doesn't have that defensive capability, but he could definitely get up there and get 12, 13, or 15 rebounds for a team that needs a big to do nothing but rebound and set screens, say like the Golden State Warriors. I think he would do phenomenal in that type of system in a Kevon Looney role, where all he needs to really worry is using his God-given physical strength to set back-breaking screens and then roll to the rim for a dunk or an offensive rebound and a putback. I think he would be phenomenal there. I also think he would probably be really good as a member of the Lakers. It'll give another big body who's, again, if he can buy in to the screening and the rim running and rebounding, it will allow Anthony Davis to.
Chris,
Yeah. What?
do you remember the LeBron James incident?
Oh, I do. That's why I hesitated before I said it. Like, again, I'm just talking roster construction. Like, he would fit. You know what I'm saying? Like, he would fit. He would eat the rebounds. It would allow Anthony Davis to be even that much more deadly on offense, right? Because he doesn't necessarily have to worry about being in position to always eat the rebounds. You could run a couple of double actions and get Anthony Davis on a slower 5 or smaller 3 or 2 with Isaiah Stewart, fighting down there. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, I know he was heated, but he was young. He was young. He's still only 21 years old.
Whoa, he's 21?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he
He's
was a
young.
lot old. I thought he was
Nah,
not
bro.
not insanely old, but I thought he was like 25.
No. He's 21. He got in the league at 18.
Oh, he looks like an old 21.
Oh, I mean, the biggest thing with that whole LeBron incident was like, why haven't the Lions signed him? Like, for real.
Like
I
I just thought he was still talking about it after, and I just don't see, like, he always looks like he's about to pop off at any second.
I don't know,
Like,
because like when I look at him, I'm thinking, all right, you say he's 21. I look at him, I'm thinking he looks 25. Jalen
yeah,
Duren,
25. That was a number I would have thrown out.
yeah,
yeah.
you're 4 years off.
When I look at Jalen Duren, like, I see his body, he's strong and stuff, but when I look at his face and people say, "Oh, he's 19," and he is 19, I'm like, okay, I could see he's 19, but Stewart, he has I don't know, he has a face like of like 25, 26-year-old.
I don't know how to take that, but okay. Like, he's improved every year, right? I think he knows though that Jalen Duren is the future in Detroit. Another team he would be really good for, I think, is Brooklyn. It'd be great. He'd be able to push Clax to the 4, maybe even have Clax come off the bench if you wanted to do it that way. But that would allow Clax to be a better help defender. Again, you'd actually probably be way better in rebounding with the Isaiah Stewart, Clax, and KD lineup. You put 2 other shooters out there because Kyrie can shoot and create. And this is, just hypotheticals. What other team?
No comment at this time.
Phoenix. Phoenix would be a good one.
Yeah, so I'll look for him to be moved at the trade deadline. Basically, he could be moved. That's what you're saying.
Oh yeah, I have no doubt that if somebody were to offer a first round pick, that Detroit would be like, sure. Unless because I mean, you don't do what you did if you're Detroit, to not have continual asset building trades. So like now they have a duplicity. If they think Jalen Duren takes the next step in development by into the second half of the season, I could see them saying absolutely. All right, we're at 12 o'clock, and now we're getting ready to move on to Chris Paul and Kanye West. But before I do that, we'll go ahead and get the read in now. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're down below, I want to say thank you for making any part of your day part of HoopSpaces. We are here Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. every day of the week, except on holidays when obviously I'm not gonna do it. Like, I'm not gonna open up a show on Christmas. That'd just be crazy. We're brought to you by Slam Goods, and if you head over now to slamgoods.com, you can actually pick up a lot of things that are on sale. They're having their season-ending clearance, and you can pick up some dope stuff. Like, they've got hoodies that are off. The fact one sold out already. I was originally going to use it, but I can't. If you're a lady out there and you're looking forward to next year, you can look up top. We actually have the crop hoodie up there. It's on sale for $20, $19.99. Use promo code HoopSpaces, save 15%, and get it ready for next year. If you are into collectibles, they just released the pre-orders for all the new Funko Pops exclusively to Slam Goods. And the one that I know I'm going to get is the Ray Allen one from Seattle. It's $20. Go pre-order it now. Use promo code HoopSpaces, save 15%. That's $3.50. And you can use that $3.50 to like buy yourself a candy bar. I suggest Mounds. Chocolate and coconut is delicious. Say no to those Reese's peanut butter cups. We are going to
Hey,
go.
hey, come on.
What? What?
Come on.
What?
Don't
It doesn't
stop
even.
hating on Reese's.
It doesn't even taste like peanut butter, bro.
It tastes like chocolate and peanut butter.
No, it doesn't. We're going to go to Dorcia to get his last thoughts on the Dallas Mavericks. He is a regular listener and commenter on stage at 77 Spaces. Shout out to the crew. Rolo's out there on vacation, but Jose's been holding it down. Jazz is in the building. Dorcia, the last 60 seconds of this hour go to you, sir. What is your final take on the Dallas Mavericks?
Well, they're not great at anything. When you got one player who's your best rebounder, your best passer, your best scorer, he's getting the most turnovers on your team, then you're never going to be a good team. It's that simple. We can't rebound the ball. And that's essentially what's been the exploit for every team defensively. In every space I go into, I let people know, I said it depends on how the defense is going to line up. What do you see? First half, they're switching everything. Wasn't working for the Pistons. Then they go to the double team. So long as every team double teams Luka Doncic to get the ball out of his hands, you are looking at a good chance you're going to lose the game. It's that simple. Nobody else on this team has a back. It is that simple. You know, we don't even have a rebounder, bro. That's one of the first things you learn is when the ball goes up in the air, someone misses, you grab the ball. We don't even have that. Okay? It's that simple. Mavs really need to look at this team. And I'm on the opposite end. People think that we need to reconstruct this team with trades and stuff, but I don't believe so, bro. Like, we're gonna have to ride this out. And they gotta really think long term instead of short term. That's just my opinion. Because regardless, the way Luka looks, it's looking like in a couple of years he might want to leave. So you got to think long term right now, not short term. You want to try to build a franchise around this guy.
I agree, especially with the sentiment of them making short term moves. I said this in a couple of spaces ago that the biggest failure of the previous front office was that they looked at Luka and said he's ready to compete now, coming over from Europe, and they picked a whole bunch of players who 3 years ago were ready to be contributors on a contending team, and now you are stuck in the purgatory of what we call perpetual ineptitude, basically paying for the mistakes of the past and the present and the future. Because when you make a mistake and you don't correct it, the longer you wait to correct it, the more resources and time it costs, and time itself is a resource to correct it. And that is the sin of bad ownership.
That's the thing. It's like the other thing is too is what people don't think about is Luka's one of those players that's too good. So in terms of drafts, it's going to be tough because this team's never going to be bad, but it's always going to be average. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yep. It's called purgatory.
You have a player who's he's just too good for this team to be bad, if that makes sense. So it's like,
yeah,
you're always going to be sitting in the middle end of like drafts and this and that. So you really have to draft well. And it's not to say that you can't get good guys in the middle of the draft, but they got to really look at this long term. I don't think Kidd is a good coach. I said this last year. So.
Yeah, I'm putting out a tweet. This, and I've said this before in spaces before. The Dallas Mavericks are really the Iverson Sixers 2.0. And like that's the best you can be.
Right.
There is yeah, that's it. And if you remember, and I'm a Sixers fan, if you remember, we got to the finals and we won game 1, and then we got smoked, and we ain't
This
never
is
been
not
the
good
same
enough.
since. Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, appreciate it, Dorcia. Up next, Chris Paul took the biggest L on his day off. We'll talk about that. If you're down below and you want to come on up, go ahead. Shout out to all of you who've come in and made any part of your day part of HoopSpaces. We are appreciative. All right, so we all. If you don't know, I'm jealous. We all probably have heard of Alex Jones by now. He is a independent newstainment snake of a person, and he had Nick Fuentes, who is a noted white supremacist and anti-Semite, on, and Kanye West on his show. I don't really particularly want to get in to the Kanye debate. A lot of this actually goes past the majority of people who are commenting on it, their understanding of mental illness, what it entails when you have severe mental illness that is running rampant and untreated. And to have a conversation about Kanye, you have to have a conversation about that. And if you don't understand certain things, it becomes too much of an explainer conversation. And I'm not trying to sit up here and explain to you the severity of dissociative personality disorder with bipolar effect, manic depressive, major depressive disorder, and various other monikers that have been assigned to him. We're going to focus on what he said with Chris Paul, and now that is starting to kind of swirl in not just social media but media. TMZ is on this case. Every other tabloid news agency is going to be on this case. Every big name news source is on this case, and they're just not going to say it, but they've got people who are going to look into it. It's so bad that even tweets from 2 years ago from Drake is starting to come out because apparently Drake knew. As you heard JFK earlier said, apparently he's alluding to a song called 30 Hours, which was in reference to Matt Barnes being a cover for him blowing out what CP3 he accused him of doing, which is sleeping with his wife, Kim Kardashian. I don't know about you. I haven't really seen anything from Chris Paul or Kim K because I don't really pay attention to that. But if you are down below and you want to share your thoughts, go ahead and come on up. I know Malika has thoughts. I know JFK has thoughts. And if they have thoughts, you have thoughts. But if you can't come up and you want to share your thought or question, that's why we have a chat box down below. Go ahead and put that in there and we'll get to it. All right. We will go to Bankai first because he had his hand up. I don't know if you're ready, Malika. Bankai, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know who Alex Jones is. I have no idea who that person is. Also, is this true? Like the whole Chris Paul?
Well, let me give you context then. The Alex Jones hosts a program called InfoWars. He goes through the news and proffers conspiratorial theories to explain certain actions in a conservative, positive way, right? So, like, he is ultra right. He is most noted for propagating the lie of Sandy Hook, saying that it didn't happen. When it did, he's been ordered to pay over $1 billion in restitution and damages. Yet he is still allowed to go on his show and do this stuff.
So he sounds like a trash human being, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, good. All right, so piece of trash. Anyways, the Chris Paul stuff, because I haven't really been following any of that. I just see it obviously a lot on the timeline, and I see like the jokes and all that. This actually happened, or is this some made up stuff by Kanye, who at this point is just not anywhere sane right now?
So see, and this is the problem having this discussion and conversation is it becomes a conversation about mental health. So I'm going to hold off on that question first. I'll go to JFK next, and we'll get Malika in
Also, I
here.
meant no disrespect. I'm just saying.
Oh, no, there was no disrespect taken. It's just that question is. I'll get to it, but we'll let me field the other thoughts and questions first. JF, go ahead.
Yeah, Chris. Where do I start on this? I think it's hilarious. If you really listen to music and you listen to context, a lot of great artists they're great because of their pain. And I think that's one thing with Kanye. I think he's been very very successful on I guess you could say expressing his pain through his music. Sorry, man, my kid's having a blow up right now, but I think he does a good job expressing his pain through his music, and a lot of the times he's very blunt about things. Like I don't consider Kanye a liar. That wouldn't be the word. I consider him some type of word within the mental illness range because at the end of the day, a lot of things that he says is a little bit true. It has a lot of deeper meanings, but you have to understand, like things can go on. I mean, to say that Chris Paul and Kim K been together, I mean that's not a surprise. I wouldn't be surprised about that. And the simple fact that I pointed out to Drake, like if you understand what they've been going through back and forth, that whole situation, a lot of things have gotten exposed personally. Whether it be about Drake's friend through the means of Pusha T, or whether it be about Kanye saying, "Oh, I know where you live," this and that, blah blah blah. All these people know each other, and all these people know each other's dirt. So I think it's just hilarious because everybody wants to write Kanye off like he doesn't know what he's talking about. But when he says some shit like this, it gets everybody to question, and it goes back to my original thought on a lot of things. A lot of people don't even remember Xavier Wade. Exactly. You get
No,
what
I
I'm saying?
remember
Like,
Xavier Wade.
yeah. So, like I said, a lot of people do things that it just they either have a good PR team to get rid of it, or they know how to cover it up, or they come out and state it. Um, I think this is what you call bad karma upon Chris Paul's part. He seemed like such a great guy through all his State Farm commercials and everything that he does with the WNBA. But everybody got that secret life, and it's like, why is Chris Paul not blessed to win a ring? He's been on some of the best teams, Lob City, even his Phoenix Suns. He went to the finals. Shoot, I even have his New Orleans jersey with him and Barry Davis, New Orleans jersey, when they were on sale at Marshall. Like, I was able to get those. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he was able to do what he needed to do. But I think this attests to maybe he's not doing what he needs to do, Chris. But yeah, if you really go back into Kanye's discography, when you talked about the life of Pablo, there's a lot of truths behind that I guess you could say album that people don't even realize. So I suggest you go back, revisit it, listen to what he's saying, because a lot of the things that he's saying out in these interviews are sometimes what he's saying in his music. I mean, look at his album. What is it, Yeezus? He was talking about slavery and all that stuff, but everybody wants to just hear what he was saying about slavery, this and that. So it's really hard to depict the truth from Kanye, but it's easy to understand what's true and what's true just by other people. Like I said, Drake showed his evidence. He showed that he was throwing on some good trolls. And man, were they working? Because they probably sent Kanye into the spiral like what he's doing right now. Not even a lie.
So, man, this is hard. Let's look at it this way. Let's ask this question first. And I was just about to go to Malika. Damn. What does it matter in the long run, in terms of if it happened or not? So I asked this because this is usually like a personal issue, right? And now we are in a world where once you reach a certain level of fame, nothing is personal. And when you were alluding to whether you can believe him or not, that also is a problem in regards to mental health, because I was talking in a group chat. It's very hard to explain exactly what this is, but like it's not. He doesn't have a filter for truth. Everything he says he's believing is true, and you have to figure out what is actually true or not true. And that's a very difficult job for anybody, without any added evidence, without any reply from Chris Paul. And like, how does this affect Chris Paul and his daily life? He's married, he has kids. This is going to affect that relationship dynamic in a negative way, and it's not really fair to him, even if it did happen. So, like, is there recourse for him? How does he work through this? Because let's be honest, you woke up yesterday and everything was normal. You wake up today and now Chris Paul has to answer questions. His wife is going to be asked questions. His teammates are going to be asked questions. And it's not going to stop until it either dies down, another story replaces it, or the truth, comes out. Malaya, good morning. 60 seconds. Go ahead. And we can't hear. All right. JF, hop in here, because for whatever reason, we can't hear Malaya.
Yeah, Chris, I was going to say, we're going to have to take a deeper look at these Banana Boy brothers, because I think we got to give Michael Jordan a pass. I think it's time to give him a pass for all the things he's done. We just uncover and peel some of the onions and layers of these boys, and hey, it's going to be a lot of things. And trust me, word gets around fast in Miami, Chris. I got a lot of stories, but that's for another day, another time. But that's what I'm saying. We got to go ahead and give Michael Jordan a pass. We're going to have to give everybody a pass except for Karl Malone. I think he got to stay where he's at.
Yeah. I'm good. No thanks to Carl. Bonkai, your hand was up earlier. We'll go to James. James, what are your thoughts? Yep.
Chris.
Damn, no one, Chris.
All right, Malaya, 60 seconds, go.
Okay, I just wanted to say one on the Kanye thing. I just think like he's going through something mentally, and like I don't know. I guess he's saying a lot. He's just saying a lot of crazy stuff, and that's why I heard that he got suspended off of Twitter because he just last night from Elon because he's just saying crazy stuff. And I think I heard that Elon said the reason why he was kicked off is because of like he was spreading violence and stuff. And just I've seen some of the tweets and I'm like, it's just he got something going on there. But also on the CP3 Kim, I don't think that stuff really happened. I just think a little bit Kanye just talking some stuff. And I heard from this one post that it didn't really even happen. So like I don't know. But if it did, like I don't think dude's wife will probably leave him because it seemed like I bet there's probably a lot of players that have stepped out on their wives and the wives didn't do nothing about it that we know of. So that's how I feel about it.
Like I said, this is something that normally doesn't get publicized, and now it's public. And regardless of whether it's true or not, like the impact has been made. Chris Paul's going to get asked all these questions. Chris Paul's wife is going to be asked all these questions. His teammates are going to be asked all these questions. We're here having to talk about it because of it, right? Like it is now into an existence, whether it's true or not. And like my question is, how do we go about, right? Because like if you look at what Twitter did, it blew up. Like it's still going. There's more Chris Paul memes about this than memes about almost anything right now because like it's just I keep getting DMs too. Like some of the jokes, I'm not gonna lie, they're pretty funny. Because some of them are written by comedians, and they're like, I'm gonna use this. I'm like,
Listen,
it might
how does
not be
Kanye
true.
know? How does Kanye know it was Chris Paul? Maybe it was Cliff Paul. I don't know.
Well, see, there's the like. Do you want to guess the number of Cliff Paul jokes I've seen or heard, bro? Like it's killer out there. One thing to understand also is the NBA is also a small circle, right? As JF said, like things get around Miami, things get around the league. There are only 30 teams. There's only 440 players, and they see each other like 90 days. 90 days, like, and then they get a break, and then 90 days, and then they get a break, and then 90 days, they get a break, and then they got the off season. So, like, it's a rigorous and tight-knit job. And like, if it were true, it's going to affect everybody, right? But because it's Kanye, we're left with this what? And we're asking, is it because of attention? And it probably is. But on the off chance that it's not, I want to say, like, this doesn't matter. Like, it's not our responsibility. It's his responsibility. And like, I think what we should say is like, we hope that Kanye gets help because it's apparent that, you know, might need some help. And that's where I leave it at. We'll go to JF and then we got 5 Level Killer.
Yeah, Chris. I think we just need to let people be humans at the end of the day. Even if it is true or if it isn't, to be honest with you, I think the troll part on Drake, I think that kind of solidifies a lot of things. Because a lot of times when they troll, they usually very, very, how can I say it? They're very, very like low key. It's not shout out like that, but it's deep. But you know, this all states that we need to go ahead and cancel culture. And we need to go ahead and bring back Ime Udoka to one of these teams because there's no way those two people on Good Morning America can go ahead and do the same thing Ime Udoka did, and they still get to keep their job, but Ime got suspended. So we gotta go ahead and cancel culture. I think that's what got Ime out of here, or it could have been somebody.
Well, no, Ime got out because Ime broke the rules, and Ime had to pay a price for breaking the rules. Like,
No, but
that's how that worked.
But you know what? So are those two people from Good Morning America.
Wait, what? What happened with Good Morning America?
Exactly, the two anchors. The I don't even know their names. The black guy and the white girl. They done left their relationship to go be with each other. It's already been stated. They've been seeing each other on and off. And they kind of said, "Bump it. We're gonna make it official." And they left their significant others. And we have.
You know what?
But
You know
I heard
what?
they not getting disciplined though.
Well, yeah. I don't know anything. I ain't gonna comment on that. I'm moving past that. You just got off the exit ramp. We just pushed that off of the 305, and it's going to downtown, wherever the hell it's going. It ain't staying here. I don't want no part of that. No, thank you. I don't even. I forget. Well, oh, yeah. Well, so the issue with that is like, believe it or not, that's common. That's actually pretty common in that industry, right? Like CNN, a couple of their anchors, you know, have basically they married each other because like it's that world is so again small, and you the reason why you don't have as many friends from high school into your 30s and 40s is because you spend about 80% of your hours at work, and so your relationships are based around work. And that creates a whole other dynamic. So, yeah, we'll push that over there off the 305. Whatever exit in Cali that leads you to, I don't know. Hopefully, you can go get yourself a good taco.
Hey, Chris.
What's up, 5?
Can't the same be said for Ime Udoka?
No.
Yes.
No, because he contractually committed an error. That's my problem. No, listen, what you're saying, he had a contract. He breached his contract. That's what happened. This has nothing to do with that.
Chris, first thing you said is It's pretty common. It's pretty common in the NBA circles too. That's why I said that the same thing can be said because you're at work
But
all this
again,
time. You know
he was
Chris
no
Paul.
longer a player. The contract he signed as a coach was different. It stated explicitly not to do that. He broke the contract, ergo Boston can punish him however they want.
Oh no, I'm not saying Boston. Boston could do it. They want their employer, but the same thing can be said for the small circles and you not being at home and you being around other people a
Oh,
long
that
time.
part, yeah, absolutely.
That's the only thing I'm saying. Like that happens, and everybody has different rules. So the Lakers rules is not the same as Boston rules. Boston rules are the same as the Knicks rules. I understand that, but it's just highly funny that something that was supposed to be in house be so publicized. That's just funny.
Well, so that part, like to me, was the bigger story that nobody talked about was how that whole thing became public, and the way Boston reacted. But like, trust me, I've had this argument because like just because the similarities are there, it doesn't mean it's the same because in this sense there is one line that is just like this huge red line, and it was a contractual obligation that was broken, right? Whereas in this sense, the contractual obligation, if it happened, was against his wife because they're married, and if the Phoenix Suns have a player code conduct that alludes to off-court behavior, but like they would have to be able to prove that it would fit to discipline, right? Which is why we don't
Chris
see
Paul's
it.
in a conundrum right now. Chris Paul's in the most fucked up conundrum I've ever seen.
Well, he's in a no-win situation. Yeah,
he's in a situation where this would have dead been under wraps if the whirlwind of what Kanye is going through. Because at the end of the day, watch this. Watch what I'm about to say. Everybody's saying Kanye crazy, but if this to come true and he held this in, how can you be mad at him?
Well, so
if he knew
this is why I profit this conversation though. But this is why I profit this conversation, and you missed the beginning of it. Like Chris Paul's in a no-win situation, right? And the main reason why is because when we end up talking about Kanye, we end up having to have a conversation about mental health. And the issue is not everybody is versed enough to have this conversation. And there's a lot of truth saying with people in this situation. The issue is that it is colored by the mental health. And so even if there is validity, the reason why Chris Paul's in a no-win situation is if he admits the validity to it, he loses. If he fights back against Kanye, he loses. If he says nothing, he loses. And at the same time, his wife is going to get asked questions. The team's going to get asked. The teammate's going to get asked. It's going to go around the NBA, and like he loses. So like what we really are talking about is one person affecting somebody on a personal level and a professional level. And like that's the conversation that should be having, but we can't have it because it's Kanye West and it's Chris Paul. And there are definitive sides. There are people who are cheering right now just because they don't like Chris Paul for whatever reason.
That's a fact.
They could hate Kanye because everybody right now is hating Kanye. I've stopped listening to dude long time ago. Like I'd known he wasn't right long time ago for me. And like now you got people who just don't like Chris Paul who are just jumping on this. But then you got, the anti-Kanyes who are now trying to say like, well, he's mentally ill and this. And then you got Elon Musk interjecting himself because he's an arrogant, egotistical person as well. And he couldn't just let well enough alone. Had to come out and personally say, oh, why suspended Kanye again? Well, maybe he should have not unsuspended him. Like maybe he should have stayed suspended and we don't have this problem, right? So like a whole bunch of stuff here. Malaya, go ahead. JF, go ahead. And then we'll go ahead and get ready to go out for the weekend. I can't wait for NBA basketball to come back.
I just want to ask, like, when you said that, Chris's teammates and everything will get asked about it, like, to me, I don't get, like, why, because, like, I can see if he was Kanye said, "Oh, he got with someone in his organization," then I could see the team being asked questions about it. But
Then you don't know.
Kim
You don't
Kardashian is not
know.
part of.
You don't
No,
know
I'm just
the.
I'm trying to say, like, why would the team
Well, I'm
like
trying to tell
get
you your
asked
answer.
questions about it?
I'm
Okay.
telling you the answer. If you don't know why, then you don't pay attention to the buzz life of NBA stars and superstars, because they've been tied to that family via Devin Booker and stuff. So like the media around there is going to ask, Team Z is going to ask, and like the people who are going to be asked are the players. They're always asked.
Soon as they
No, I
land.
mean like in the like when they go and sit in the press conference. Like, if that's what you mean, like, will they be asked?
No. They'll be asked
That's what I
like
thought you were saying.
No,
no.
they're going
Not
to be
on the
asked that in the
court.
press conference. She's right. They're going to
Well,
ask
they
that.
not
TMZ
all not
reporter will speak and
maybe.
they ask that question.
Well, no. What'll happen is the PR people will say they will create a plan to address it. And if they are going to allow reporters to ask that, it'll be staged, right? And reporters will have the chance to ask. But they have the
Okay.
power to say none of these questions will be tolerated. And then they say, if you ask that question, we yank your credentials. And then the reporters don't ask those questions.
The
I'm
same thing with
telling
the
you,
Nets right now.
every time these players go out in public, is it true? What do you know? What else is going on? Like this is just opens up nothing but what we call cannon fodder, right?
Okay.
Tabloids are going to be following them everywhere they go. They hit up a club, they're going to be 30 photographers outside.
Yes.
And I'm talking about the
I get
15th
that.
player. So that's what
I
I
get
mean.
that.
Not
I just
just
thought you
the
mean.
yeah.
Chris,
Let
I
me
just
get
thought you
JF
mean the
in.
media.
right
No,
now in
well,
New
I'm
they
York.
are
sorry,
the
Chris.
media. They are the
No,
media.
right now in New York, there is a girl that works for TMZ, and she goes around to anybody that got anything to do with sports. Because when that thing was going on with the Kyrie situation, my one of my good friends in life is Chris Brickley. She made sure she ran up to him and tried to ask him that, and he said, "I'm not talking about that right now. You can leave me alone." They send people to cities to do this, so
Yeah, no,
the 15 players going to be asked this question, like he said. How do you
yeah.
what's going on? Do you know anything? And that's
Let me
messed
get
up.
JF in here. JF, go ahead.
All right, Chris. I figured it out. All right. I know who's behind all this. All right. We got to start from beginning of the season, okay? A lot of people didn't have expectations for the Suns whatsoever, to the point where I was looking at DeAndre Ayton's body language. I'm like, man, what is this gonna become of? You get what I'm saying? And to be honest with you, Chris, something happened and they start off pretty good. Okay. And first thing that happened, Booker broke up with his girlfriend. Okay, now they're gonna go ahead and get Kanye to go ahead and mess up Chris Paul and his little season that he's having. And to be honest with you, Chris, if we go ahead and do the unveil, the Scooby Doo Mask Mystery Man, that person is Robert Sarver, okay? Kanye need money, Chris. Kanye need money. Yo, Robert Sarver paid Kanye to do this, to destroy whatever is happening with the Phoenix Suns, okay? I know this because Kanye lost all his endorsements and he's looking for some change. And Robert Sarver is trying to get his name out of the press so he doesn't look like a Jerry Jones. And to be
Oh, that
honest
is
with you,
so
Chris,
bad.
they are trying hard to steer away from these owners. And boy, it's been a crazy roller coaster ride for a lot of these players. They
I
need to go
hear the
ahead and come up.
smile. I hear the smile as you lay out your conspiracy theory. Bankai, go ahead.
Yeah, Chris, when you said, if Chris Paul answers, right, he loses, why would that be? Like if he came out right and just said, "Hey, this is some, made up shit that I have no idea about. I never did any of this legitimately." And he answers it with, wholeheartedly, right? Why does he lose if he
Oh,
dispels the
because
whole
the die is cast. There is an anti Chris Paul faction who's jumping on this, who's going to say it's true, even if it's not true. If you look above, Malaya already posted TMZ saying sources close to the situation says Chris Paul did not hook up with Kim Kardashian. But look at how it's worded. Did not hook up. That's a very ambiguous term because there's a whole bunch of things that can happen. And then, like, that's what I'm saying is he loses. And then so if he goes out and says, I didn't do it, right? It doesn't matter because he now has to defend himself. That's the loss. The amount of time and energy he's going to have to expend to deal with this is the actual loss. It's not the loss. The loss doesn't come after. The loss is he has to do it. Like he's in a no-win. He no matter what he says, he loses. All right. Okay. So if he stonewalls and says, I'm not going to answer it, like there's going to be people who says, oh, you're guilty. If he says no, there's people who's going to say you're lying. If he says yes, everybody poo-poos on him. He's now bad. And then he's got more stuff to deal with personally. Like what do you want him to do?
Well, I guess there's nothing he can do. Just
exactly.
Go out and play ball and that's it.
Exactly. Like I said, that's it. Go out and play ball. But like
go win the championship and shit all the haters.
There you go. But then you're giving Robert Sarver a championship because we all know he's holding on to try to win one before he's forced to sell.
It's a no-win situation then.
It's a win-win for Robert Sarver. I'll tell you that, Chris.
James, go ahead.
Yeah, my take on it is that, not most, but a lot of, I should say, let me put it this way. Some NBA player wives get them hall passes anyway. So that one in itself is a no-brainer right there. Even, he probably didn't, but on the other hand, he can have the scarlet letter of Kim K on his back forever from here on out anyway. Wherever he go, people, it's going to be whispers about what happened between them because they were good friends anyway. So it's always going to be whispers from here on out. So like you say, Chris, he in a no-win situation. If I was him, just keep quiet and let it go, let it die down.
Well, yeah, and I think that's exactly what they're doing, which is why you're seeing like them say that the allegation is absolutely false and just another example of a desperate man trying to shift the focus away from his own wrongdoings, right? Like that's the only thing they can do. And like you notice, it wasn't him that said it. It was sources close to the situation. Because he understands, he has a publicist. This publicist was probably texting him like at the moment it happened. Do not say a word.
Yeah, Chris, because the thing is too, not to cut you off, sorry about that, but the thing is too, Chris Paul, people look at him as a family man. So what this does right now is kind of rattle his cage a little bit, and try to put, almost like that, like Tiger Woods had that persona of, oh, I'm a family man, I'm a good person, I don't do nothing, I don't drink, I don't smoke or whatever, and then everything, the house of cards come crashing down. So people looking at Chris Paul and say, is this one of those people as well? So yeah, his best bet is just be quiet and let it go away.
And now we'll move on quickly to the other story, because there's always another story. Kyrie Irving and Jerry Jones, ladies and gentlemen. If you are a subscriber to the HoopSpaces review, first, thank you. All right. Second, you should look and subscribe if you're not. In there, our friend Natalie, Natfluential, who is now producer over Brother from Another, which you can catch Mondays through Fridays streaming on Peacock TV. Shout out to NBC Sports for hiring a fantastic person. They had a hard conversation centered around how the media treated Kyrie Irving and his actions by retweeting the movie that contained anti-Semitic overtures and remarks and themes versus Jerry Jones, who has been since purported with a picture to have supported segregation when he was 14. Now, there's a lot of things that can be true. One can be that he supported segregation. Like, dude was 80-something years old and lived in a time of segregation, lived in a place where segregation was the status quo, and ergo, you can understand if it was the status quo in belief, he was going to believe it because that is what people believed, specifically and especially in Arkansas. Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, South Carolina. Like you can't say it didn't happen because it happened. We have proof. We have pictures. We have video. Right? We have the words of civil rights leaders who marched through these cities and towns and were accosted by the likes of white supremacist Ku Klux Klan members who believed in the superiority of them versus the minority. Right? And yet, someone ended up being suspended without pay, and the other one has zero disciplinary repercussions. And part of the issue that I have is that the complicity that the media has in this is, to me, rather plain sight. But I don't really ever hear anybody talk about it. And we just talked about Chris Paul, and James just talked about Tiger Woods, of crafting an image, and you can only craft an image with the successful campaign through media. And Jerry Jones has crafted this image of being the grandfather, the grandfatherly or fatherly figure who's all Texan, who is about winning and spending to win and grandiosity. And, you know, if you are a football fan, you know this because you've seen it. He made sure you've seen it. He made sure he was on ESPN, on Fox, on NBC, on the broadcast. You see him like on halftime. They always cut to him, his family, right? And he's crafted this image of being an owner who liberates and pays handsomely everybody. But like, make no mistake, you don't think there was people complaining that he did to NFL players what Donald Sterling did or Robert Sarver did to NBA players? Like let's be honest. If we ask ourselves, in the years that he's owned the Dallas Cowboys, is there one instance where somebody felt as though they were objectified in the same manner of being objectified in a photo from when he was 14 years old? Now, I say all that knowing that 70 years have passed, and that's a long time, and people can change, and actions matter more than words. I'm just laying out the fact that we have one person who did something that was frowned upon in society and faced immediate repercussions. And then we have one person who's been purported to do something frowned upon by society, and we have zero. So that I want to go ahead and get that out there because I know we're heading into the weekend, and this was a story that several people reached out. So I want to make sure that if you wanted to speak your piece, you have the floor. We'll go to James first. James, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at Jerry Jones, he's saying that's like 60 something years ago, whatever. But
which is an admittance, by the way.
Right. And it's the foundation. But he said that he was there, but he didn't participate because his coach told him not to participate in stuff like that because they'll be punished.
But he was there, which is participation.
Right.
So he admits, he gives you an admittance.
Right.
And then instead of just not realizing what he's doing, he's like, but here's my equivocation. My coach said I couldn't, participate. But you were there. So you wanted to participate. You were there, but the coach said you couldn't. But being there is participation.
But that's what I couldn't figure out, why the media didn't take that and run with it. Like, hey, you were there, so you were part of it. But anyway, what I was saying is that's the foundation. Like when you're that age, you're developing to make up your own mind on how you grow. So with that being said, if you look at Jerry Jones through the years, I think the first black quarterback he hired was Quincy Carter, if I'm not mistaken. All right. So, and then he have a black bodyguard, but he just hired the lady, I think that's security for the stadium, that's over the security for the stadium, she's black. He just hired her a few years ago, I think like 2-3 years ago. But I'm not saying to make him an excuse for him, but then, before, you can see the progress he's trying to make, but he's not going to put a black person too much in control of, nothing else than he think that they're supposed to be control of. But again, you can't. With Kyrie Irving and him, the media looking at, okay, let's take the black athlete and tell him, hey, you're a basketball player. Just get the dribble the ball and shut up. Is basically what they're saying. So yeah, because your opinion don't even matter, or what you think doesn't matter, or whatever. But with Jerry Jones, they're like, well, he a billionaire, he got money. Who cares? And that's my take on that one.
Reggie Collier was the Cowboys' first black quarterback. I think that predates Jerry Jones, though.
Yes, it predates Jerry Jones. That's all right, and but not nobody else until Quincy Carter.
I don't know. I don't know. I am not. I am not as well versed in football as I am in basketball.
Chris,
We'll
can I just
go.
add one thing?
Sure.
Just remember, Jerry Jones and the New York Giants are the two teams that still have not yet hired a black coach. So, how many fines have they racked up in the Rooney Rule so far? Because it's blatant right now. Like for anybody to say that he's changed, nothing changed. Actions speak for itself. He's very, very blatant with his actions. And he talks a lot of number twos with his mouth. So. Just watch
Yeah,
his work. Just watch
but
his
the
mouth.
Mara family's hired black executives. Like I could to me, the head coach is an executive. You just see him on the field. The GM is an executive. He wears a suit.
Okay, but who's
Director of
the
player
face of all the
personnel is an
executives?
executive. Say what?
Who's the face of all the executives? It might as well be the head coach, right? Because
No,
nobody's
it's the
really going to
GM.
know.
It's the general manager.
A lot of people know the head coach more than they know the GM.
That's because the coach is on the field. Like, listen to what I'm saying. The coach is on the field. The GM wears the suit. Who hires the coach?
I don't know. It's kind of different because Stephen Ross.
Right. Well, no, it
story.
does. Like, who hires the coach? Like,
It's the GM supposedly.
So yeah, like there you go. I'm sure some owners have heavy sway, man. Like I'm not saying that, but in the hierarchical structure, who hires the coach? The GM. Like who's the face of the organization? The star player, the coach, and the GM, right? Because those are the three most seen, right? Like you put your star quarterback out there, you got your head coach out there, but you still see the GM because the GM has to be seen nowadays, apparently, instead of just sitting in an office like Joe Dumars on a shoe phone. 5 level, go ahead.
I was just lost because I know when I was 14, right? I can remember this. When I was 14 and we went to go do something, we all knew what we was doing because we all talked about it before we went to go did it. It ain't like we ain't know what we was doing. We was curious. You can't be curious about something that is publicized like that. It's no way on God's green earth that you could be curious and that's publicized. That's the biggest thing going on in Arkansas at that time. So you just went there to be curious, blocking the door because y'all went there to block me from getting in. And it's not like you're all the way in the back. You're in a place where it's kind of say you could be near the front. I just didn't understand. I don't know how people let that just slide past their head. Like, oh, I was 14, I was curious. So when I went to go do something bad at 14 years old, I didn't know what I was doing. Me and my friends didn't plan to go do this. That's a planned thing. So it's just a scapegoating thing. That's why, in one way, I respect LeBron James. It was a great chess move at the right time, at the right moment. I still got little ways of how you do things, but that was just the right chess move at the right time, at the right moment. Because now it starts to make people think, what is the media really about? Because I can see that the Nets put in place to where they can't even bother Kyrie about that shit no more. They can't even,
he'll still be bothered.
He'll still be bothered, but it's not like it was when he first came back, how they try to pushed what's going on in front with him. They really stopped those questions. Even Nick Fidel fell all the way back, and he was the main culprit. So it's like we gotta because think about it like this: we really don't know the media names asking them questions. They still hide behind a shield. How about we start putting their face to the fire the same way we put the athletes to the face of the fire, see how they feel in.
Well,
Because they still get to run around chilling.
It's changing, and you actually see the faces now, like Woj and Shams, Adam Schefter, John Clayton, R.I.P., and a couple others. They were the progenitors of what the next wave of media is. But like you see Draymond out there all the time, Kendrick Perkins out there all the time, Shaq and Shaw. Like players and ex-players are becoming the new mouthpieces of media. And I don't mean mouthpieces in a negative sense, but as the sense as they are already recognizable, right? And that's the issue. Like I know who Nick Friedel is. I like you might not have. Not saying you did or didn't. Other people might not have because he's just not as visible as Woj and Shams. But trust me, Nick Friedel wants his name and face out there too, right? Because we now live in a world where if you get your face out there enough, you tend to get more positive reactions or engagement, and that leads to bigger and better things. Like it's odd because people ask me, why I don't have my face up here and stuff like that. It's like because I'm the opposite. Like I don't care to be super famous. Like I don't want to be Shams. Like how much work is that? Think about what this dude does in his life and be like, do you want to do that? Chris. I am not. I am not famous. I can leave my house. I can go grocery shopping. Nobody knows. Nah, I'm good. I'm not famous. That's the difference. The players are more famous than the media members, unless they happen to be Woj or Shams, right? Or Adam Schefter. Am I wrong, Five?
No, you're 100% right. It's just that, and I don't mean per se. I mean, like, how can I say this so it could sound like the reporters that's in there, that's like the local reporters that's trying to be funny, that's doing things, like, because you don't see
the beat writers
asking questions.
Yeah, you don't see the national people doing this. You see the beat writers.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're like, I want to like when they ask us, they used to show their face when they ask the question. They don't do that no more.
Well, that is also a byproduct of how since COVID the questions have changed. Like they're just now being able to get back into the locker room, right, or into the access hallway. Before, they went to a more formal press conference type style during the pandemic, and then most teams have kept that style because it's easier to control the reporters.
Chris, if I get off this one thing, yo, did you see how Stephen A. Smith swayed this whole argument yesterday when Jason Williams started talking?
No, I haven't watched First Take in years, bro.
No. You just watch that interview when Jason Williams, because Jason Williams went hard about it, right? Jason Williams is the one that said he needs to say sorry and everything Kyrie had to do. This is what he needs to do, basically. And then he basically told Stephen A. Smith, you need to choose a side, low key. Like, that's why I asked people to watch that Jay Williams interview, because that was very powerful. Because I seen Stephen A. Smith start putting that, you're right. I'm 100%, 1,000% with you. Your energy changed from what it was a week ago.
Well, yeah, but people have to also understand that Stephen A. Is performing now. Like this isn't the Stephen A. Like you from New York, right?
Yes, sir.
This ain't the Stephen A. you was reading 30 years ago. This isn't the Stephen A. that was hopping up on the radio giving you the fresh business. This is the Stephen A. who is a made man, and he made himself based upon the persona of being the loudest New Yorker on the panel. And he's got to play that role. It's like Skip Bayless. The difference is, like, the reason why I've said before, like I don't particularly like Skip Bayless is more personal for me. Like I don't know Stephen A. I don't even really know Skip. I've just met other family members and I had a bad experience right? And it's caused bias. But Stephen A is performing. Skip isn't. That has been who he's always been. Instead of writing it, though, he's saying it. And that's the difference to me. Same thing with like Wilbon. We can look at Michael Wilbon because there's people who are like, I used to love Michael Wilbon, and now I can't stand him because all he does is like, yeah, he's being the basically the big uncle or grandpa on ESPN for a specific demographic. You get what I'm saying, right?
No, I got you.
Yeah. So like, yeah. So what you see is when he's in a position and he can't say he can no longer fulfill that role because the moment requires him to break character, which is where he's probably saying, you 100% right, and I'm with you, because that's what we all say when we know we're wrong, right?
Mm-hmm.
To stop the argument. 6, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say, man, Jared Jones is wrong. And look, I am a white male, and I absolutely cringe and hate the fact that Black descendants have gone through what they have gone through over the last however many years it has been, and people can say that racism is over and everything else like that, but you still see it today. It may not be as profound and in your face, but it is in your face through news. I just hate it. Like I don't care what Jerry Jones has to say. Look, I made mistakes when I was 17, 16, 18 years old and 15 years old. But like the previous guy said, I always knew what I was doing, right? Like now I look back, I'm like, that was stupid. I would never do that again. But you know what you're doing, whether if you just wanted to see what was going on, whatever the case may be, like why weren't you the one that was trying to stop it? That's just kind of like my mindset on it. But yeah, man, I just want to say like, I'm sorry that this is, still an ongoing thing. Hopefully the world changes sooner than later, because I would love to be around when it is changed. But that's all I gotta say.
Yeah, it's a difficult conversation, bro. Like I'm not trying to put you in a position where you feel bad. Anthony, you got something you want to add in
No,
here,
but
bro?
it's just true. That's just how I feel, and I'm from Louisiana, like I see plantation homes everywhere, and it's just like, they make it into like a museum kind of thing. I think they should just tear them down by now.
Yeah, it's a complex social problem. But what I will say is, in the history of human civilization, no civilization has been as successful as us. Like, understand what I'm saying. Through all the crap we've gone through, if you look back in the history of every country that ever was, no one's done it better. Like, it's hard out there in the world. Life is real. And when we have the ability to actually have discourse instead of accusations, we tend to have a better experience like we're having today. Anthony, is there anything you want to add in here? Because I saw you had your hand up earlier.
Yeah, it just the NFL is talking about this situation less and less than any other media outlet. It's like you never heard nothing from Tom Brady or the other major superstars in the NFL about the situation. But everybody was jumping on Kyrie. It's like, I don't care how long it has been. It just, bro, like, just come on, man. It's just stupid.
It is.
I appreciate LeBron for talking about it though, for real. I really do.
The power of good PR, everybody. Like, if you are down below and you are on a burner, and you work for a team or you work for a company, or if you're on your regular stuff and you work for a company, the power of good PR it goes without saying. Because if he had a good PR person, they could have explained this in a tone and manner that was reflective, accountable, sincere, and showed positive change, right? And I think that's really the issue that we have, is that Kyrie never really had that opportunity, even though he's already giving money, donating time, and supporting good causes. And like Jerry Jones is giving money, donating to good causes, supporting good causes, but they're still not being treated the same. And I think that's really where we are, where it hurts the most. JF, go ahead, real quick.
Yeah, Chris. Even on these spaces, there's a lot of people coming at Kyrie very sideways. People from his own kind as well, and I think there's a lot of people that owe him an apology, because at the end of the day, whatever he posted was up for interpretation. Just like how you can say that the Jerry Jones picture is up for interpretation. But at the end of the day, Chris, the one thing that is valid is that somebody stated it. Back in the day, there was no phones, there was no internet or anything like that. So to show up to something like that, boy, you talked about something like that. You had a lot of dialect, probably more dialect than we have nowadays about a situation for you to show up and show your face. And to be honest with you, you can even go ahead and look at movies like Remember the Titans, where they showed a scene, the white people who were actually with, the whole integration movement, were on the inside of the fences. So even for Jerry Jones to be on the outside of the fences states a whole bunch that can be portrayed within that one picture. So again, a lot of people on this app owe Kyrie apology, because it was filthy when the day after that question was asked about Kyrie. And I think it was just all an explosion off of, what Kanye was saying. And this just goes back to your original point, Chris. Like, sometimes we got to be able to give people opportunity to decipher what they're saying for themselves, instead of for us to do it, because there's a lot of things that are said, in a lot of these interviews of Kanye West, but only one aspect of the conversation is being talked about and the other aspect isn't. So I really highly recommend everybody to actually listen, evaluate what you listen, and then, you can speak about it. But, we're all born with two eyes and two ears for a reason, and one mouth for a reason, Chris.
Yeah, I closing out the show. One, I hope everybody has a good weekend. Two, anti-Semitism is wrong. Racism is wrong. Anti Islam is wrong. Anti-Hinduism is wrong. Anti-LGBTQ plus is wrong. And the simple fact is, if you ask a child to go play with another child, the child tends to go play with the other child. And somewhere in between the development of child and adulthood, we are conditioned through our own experiences of how life treats us, and how others in life treats us, and how we group others in society, and we start judging how society treats us. And you should listen and decide for yourself. Like I had to explain to a couple people, based upon the video, like, highways have been here since the Roman times. In fact, they got their name highway because what the Romans would do would be pile up dirt from either side to the middle to create a highway. That's where they get the name. And like in this country, the oldest highway, I believe, was called the King's Highway, because I don't know what the indigenous travel patterns were. But the King's Highway went 1,300 miles through all the colonies back in 1650. And if you watch the video and listen to the video, he makes a claim that's just erroneous. It's absolutely erroneous, by hundreds of years. And then another claim about the microphone. Well, the microphone that we all use was based off of a patent that Alexander Graham Bell bought and modified and then repatented it, right? And it's just basic for me knowledge, because I learned this. And that's also the problem, is we have such a specialized education system now, where people are trying to get their kids into these, He's going to be a doctor or lawyer, mathematician, or whatever have you. And we've cut back on general education, where we have civics, where we have more detailed social studies projects, and it's complicated. So like, all you need to do is go back to like when you were a kid. This is why I brought them up earlier, and just treat everybody with the respect that you had when you were a kid and you were going to play on the playground. Like, it can actually be that simple at times. Like, just imagine the last time you were at the playground as a kid and had fun, if you can remember. Because you don't remember anything bad unless you fell and had a boo-boo, or you got in a fight because you didn't like the way the game of tag went. Like, sometimes being an adult makes it hard when it doesn't need to be. So when something like this happens, because it's going to happen again, let's take a deep breath. Let's step back, let more information come out, and then let's get together and talk about it. All right, like we did today. So big ups to all of you who were able to come up on stage and share, and big ups to everybody who's made any part of their day part of Hoop Spaces. I hope you have a great weekend. I'm going to hit this button. We are brought to you by slamgoods.com. Head over to slamgoods.com. Pick up your copy of the Pickup Card Game. You can get it there for $25. Use promo code HoopSpaces, save 15% on that. And anything else you want to buy, 15% off. Shoes, hats, t-shirts, magazines, collectibles. They got it all over there. If you missed any part of the show, head over to YouTube, powered by audiolabs.io. And you get the whole show unedited so you can listen to your heart's content. And shout out to all those who hit the replay. When you hit the replay, don't forget, you can hit retweet. Thank you. All right. Back next week, better than ever with better basketball talk as we recap the weekend and who knows what else, because apparently anything can happen at any given time. See y'all later. Have a good one. I'm done.